morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for the opportunity to update you on downtown in general, as well as some of the LDDA initiatives. We'll get right into it. Let's see. Okay, just a quick recap for the sake of the audience. The Lakeland Downtown Development Authority is a special taxing district created by the legislature in 1977. Downtown property owners pay an additional millage to the LDDA, and we invest those funds back into the district with improvements in various ways. I like to explain our role as the sprinkles on the cupcake. The city is the cake, that's the meat of all that we do, we as a community. The CRA is the icing, and the LDDA are the little sprinkles. So we get the little extra stuff. Our fiscal year 2022 income is estimated to be just under $600,000. Of that, about 2/3 is the tax revenue that's generated by the millage rate, and the other third is coming from income revenue generated from our two major events, the Downtown Farmers Curb Market and the First Friday events. Okay, so let's talk about downtown. Lots of construction still going on despite the current conditions. We have many construction projects that have been ongoing for a while. Obviously, the Summit Consulting building is expected to be completed around March of 2022. The old Nathan's Men's Store recently sold, and we'll finally see some activity and energy on that second floor that has been dormant for decades with the engineering firm who outgrew their space downtown, Kimley Horn. The ground floor is going to be split between Wauchula State Bank on the Main Street frontage and Banquet 61 on the Kentucky frontage. The office and bank spaces are expected to be up and operational by November. The Banquet 61 may follow, or it may be on that same schedule. It's a little hard to tell at this moment. We also have Descent Brewing, which is a microbrewery, which is opening up on South Kentucky. They originated in St. Pete. They should be open any day. I think they are finalizing their health inspections. And we have some other retail build-outs on North Kentucky and sprinkled throughout downtown. With the sale of many of the buildings recently, as well as those that are currently for sale, I expect to continue to see lots of construction in downtown for the years to come. For those who may not have visited downtown recently, there are several new features that have enhanced the aesthetics of downtown. Thank you to our city manager for his vision, and to his staff at Lakeland Electric and Public Works and Parks and Recreation for the implementation. Folks really, really love the drip lights in Munn Park and the string lights across Kentucky Avenue and Tennessee Avenue. I have gotten more comments, more positive comments about the aesthetics of downtown in the last few months than in my 20 years of dealing with downtown. So kudos to you guys for implementing those great features. Parklets, I'm happy to report that the construction of the parklets should be underway in the next, hopefully no longer than 4 weeks. It's a pretty small project for construction companies, and of course they are very busy at this time, short-staffed and lots of activity going on, so it's been kind of a challenge to get someone to focus on a small job. Fresco's and Harry's are the locations that we have picked out for those parklets, and we still have a few small issues to work through, working with city staff on a few questions that they have, but they've been extremely helpful and communicative and supportive, and so we should be on our way shortly with the construction of those. Downtown continues to experience growth in all areas. Brokers have reported back to me that small and medium office spaces are filling up quickly. So we are seeing a resurgence of some office coming into downtown. We also have new retail. 3 new retailers recently. 2 of those took the place of retail that had vacated. So we're kind of up net 1 retailer right now. And the retailer that just joined us is in a parcel that has been vacant since the construction of the building back in the late 2000s, and that's June Taylor. It's a home goods store that relocated from Dixieland, and it's in the vacant parcel sort of behind Jimmy John's, that front cedar. And the space was pretty awkward because it was never meant to be a separate parcel. It was almost sort of the back of house of the original restaurant that was designed to go there. So it has steps. Once you walk in the door, you have to go up, I think, 4 or 5 steps, which makes it non-compliant with ADA. And so the LDDA was able to give the owners of that space a grant to help with the installation of an ADA lift so that the space could be ADA compliant and now leasable. So not only have we increased the restaurants and nightlife, we've added some experience-based businesses to downtown. Excalibur is the first axe-throwing venue in the county. They recently expanded and now enjoy the entire bottom floor of the Heritage Office Building on Orange, so they span from Orange to Kentucky. But what many don't know is that they also have amazing food. So it's not just a place to throw axes, you can actually have a fabulous meal. And if you are nervous about throwing axes, I will admit I have not yet done it. I'm a bit uncoordinated, so I worry about anyone standing next to me. Or
even yourself.
Or myself. I could see dropping it on my toes. But if you are nervous about that, I would say go have a great meal at lunch or dinner and enjoy the atmosphere and sort of, work your way into it like I will. And then Rec Room is a new nightlife venue and arcade. So if you miss playing Miss Pac-Man in her original form, this is your place. They have lots of classic arcade games, and they have lots of new simulated games as well. So it's a lot of fun, not just a place to have an adult beverage, but a place to, earlier in the evening, even bring the kids and enjoy all those classic games. So LDDA, our marketing and events manager and administration staff spend most of their time managing the administration and production of our many, many events. Between First Friday and the Farmers Market, we produce 60 events per year, just in those 2 areas. The past year, we experimented with a partnership with Buena Markets to create Buena Block Parties. The city was also a partner in testing those events, and we all felt that they were very successful after we had 2 of those, one in May and one in July. Stephanie Gregg is the founder of Buena Markets, and she has a portfolio of several hundred vendors that are very different from what you would see at a First Friday or a farmer's market. And so with her vendors and the ability for the downtown bars and restaurants to sell and serve alcohol, adult beverages within the footprint of the event, it's a very different experience than the events we currently enjoy. So we're pleased to see folks of all ages at attendance in those Buena Block parties. We've had lots of folks with their toddlers and strollers and teenagers, and so it's not really a drinking event, although there is adult beverages available. But folks really do just enjoy that component because it sets it apart from the other things that we do. In the coming year, this year, 2022, we are planning 6 Buena Market partnerships, and we are also looking to do some new events. We're sunsetting our holiday walkabout, and we are adding 3 holiday night markets on the Saturdays in December. We're also trying to bring back movies on the promenade during the holidays with our festive flicks. And on Saturdays during the farmers market and on when no other event is scheduled for Munn Park, we will have games for folks to check out from us like Giant Yahtzee, Cornhole, Bocce Ball, other things like that. It's just a way to create activity and have some added fun in Munn Park on Saturdays. And if that wasn't enough, the LDDA staff also created tasting events and other activities that don't require a street closure, but still bring folks downtown to experience our shops and restaurants. So tomorrow night, Tuesday, the 21st of September, is our monthly Tasty Tuesday event. It's a self-guided tasting tour of the restaurants, bars, and sweeteries in downtown. So you purchase a pack of 10 tickets for $25, and you receive a listing of the participating businesses and what their taste is for the month. And then you go and visit those at your leisure, at your own pace. The event lasts from 4:30 to 9. We've received really great feedback from the public about this event. We don't have hundreds and hundreds yet participating, so we've been able to ease our restaurants into that experience of how to address someone coming in with a ticket that you're exchanging for a small sample. Actually, it's a hearty sample, I will say. It's a very hearty sample. But it's smaller than their normal servings that they offer. And so we've received great feedback. People are really having a lot of fun. They're trying places that they haven't tried before. They're exploring downtown in a different way because they have sort of this map and this mission of where they want to taste things on any given Tasty Tuesday. So people are doing it with their kids, they're doing it with as a friend's night out, so they're having a lot of fun. And if you're interested, public, you can go to our website, downtownlkld.com, or Facebook at downtownlkld, and you can see all of the details. Our other tasting event is Taste of the Market. So same concept, but now you're sampling food from the farmer's market, and we do that 6 times a year, and the next one happens to be this Saturday, September 25th. We're also creating new bingo games and scavenger hunts that folks can participate on their own time and at their own pace. We'll have those fun activities sort of open for several months at a time, and we'll change them out probably quarterly. In past events or past presentations, about downtown, I've shared with you the Fresh Access Bucks program at the market. This program matches SNAP benefits with tokens to be used to purchase Florida-grown fruits and vegetables and edible plants. But what makes it special this year is that many parents with school-aged children, regardless of income, received a PEBT card, which is a pandemic relief card. So this exposed thousands of new families to the program and to the market who perhaps weren't customers before. So folks who may still have a balance on their PEBT cards, you can double those benefits at the farmer's market. In the current fiscal year, we've had $40,000 worth of SNAP and FAB benefits spent at the market. And that makes a huge difference to our small food vendor, food producing vendors and our produce vendors. Some of the partnerships that we've engaged in recently to enhance the experience downtown. I've asked traffic operations to study the intersection of Cedar Street and North Kentucky Avenue for installing a 3-way stop at that location, and that was installed this past year. I also provided parking services with a changeable signs to better communicate the different uses at different times at the Main Street Garage. So those top 2 photos in the first, actually all 3 of those, the top 2 in that first column, during the day right now, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, you'll see a permit parking only sign, and that really draws attention to the person that's driving by that this is just permit parking, no public parking. And then at 5 o'clock, they switch to the sign that's in the middle, a little hard to read, the small stuff at the top, but it says public parking. And then we advertise that it's free after 5 and free all day on weekends. So those switch out depending, and then of course all the weekend day it's out. And the bottom public parking sign we added to the Heritage Garage because, again, I think a lot of the public was unaware that they could park there during the weekday. So we put that public parking with the pay by plate level 1 message at the top. And then, of course, we are partnering with Citrus Connection to implement the Squeeze, and that will be that golf cart shuttle that will get folks around downtown and hopefully relieve some of the constraints in the core during those peak hours like lunch when everyone thinks that there's no parking in downtown, but actually there's plenty of parking in downtown. They just don't know where to find it. And the top right is some hybrid parking signage. And what we had found is that because of the number of restaurants that we have in downtown, we have a lot of delivery trucks that are coming in the morning, and when folks who may come into the office early and just decide they're going to park on the street for a few minutes while they run into their office. The parking was very difficult for these delivery trucks. So we created some spaces that we called hybrid spaces that were commercial only in the morning until usually 10 or 11, depending on their location, and then became public parking thereafter for the rest of the day. So instead of creating parking commercial zones that, are unused for the majority of the day, we tried to make sure that we maximized every single public parking space for the good of the public. And LDDA priorities for 2022, got to get those park lists done, number one. We're going to finalize a request for qualifications for downtown security services. We felt like we could use an additional presence at certain times during the week to discourage bad behaviors and help identify when we need to communicate those bad behaviors to our Lakeland Police Department. So this is just going to be an extra set of eyes, and again, it's meant for deterrence, not any sort of enforcement. And so we're working with the city's procurement team to help us finalize the details of that. And I'm in constant communication with the chief. As soon as that comes back, he'll be someone that we consult with and make sure that we're doing things appropriately. And we're working on with a local marketing team to gather data and make recommendations for a comprehensive marketing campaign for downtown. So we should have lots of new ways that we are sharing all the wonderful things that you can do in downtown, the places you can eat and shop and play. And we are looking forward to partnering with the Community Redevelopment Agency and the Community and Economic Development Department to discuss ideas to continue to enhance the pedestrian experience in downtown, making it a pedestrian-centric central city is very important. And that's the end of that. Yep, that's the end of that's it. With that, I thank you for letting me speak to you today, and we'll happily answer any questions that you may have.
So questions by commissioners. Commissioner McCarley.
Well, I just want to commend you, Julie. You do such a good job with LDDA, and I know all the vendors and during the markets and everything really appreciate all the work you do. I did want to highlight that using games in the middle of Munn Park, during some different Saturdays when you don't have other things going on there. I know from our travels when we've been in Blowing Rock, North Carolina, and that really cute little downtown area, and then also out in Texas, there are a couple places like I was thinking about Magnolia, which is in Waco, that has all these shopping and eateries and everything around them, but it gives families something to do. So I think I hope you see a lot of participation in that. But I just appreciate all the work that you do and your board does, and all of the people downtown who work so hard to keep it nice, and it's exciting to see the new June Taylor downtown and other things like that. So thanks.
For those of us who have dressed cupcakes with just sprinkles, you do a lot more than sprinkling. And that's what your point is. Commissioner Reed.
Thank you. Julie, I think you've done a great job also. We've come a long way since 1977. I have a couple little questions. One, why canned tuna cancel?
That's Kevin.
Pivot.
Kevin Cook, Director of Communications. The Canned Tuna Concerts are sponsored by the city. The first event was supposed to take place Friday, September 17th, just this past Friday. We had threatening weather. We had a pretty severe cell also in the Gulf of Mexico heading this way. I spoke to Dan Signer. Dan plays, I don't know if you ever heard of Dan Signer, but he also plays his instruments cost a lot of money, and you're out in the elements, and he called and said moisture would impact his equipment. And so I asked him if he could change earlier that morning, and he couldn't, but he found a Friday, so that's why we moved it. It was because of the threat of inclement weather. And we've never had that opportunity to postpone an event and reschedule in my 28 years of being with the city of Lakeland. So if an event has my name on it, it inevitably rains.
Good. And this event is going to move to October the 22nd. Is that what I understand?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Yes. So the event was rescheduled to October 22nd, which is also a Friday, and it's from 6 to 8 p.m. The Canned Tuna Concerts are in Munn Park. We have local entertainers come in, so those events are typically every quarter. This one kind of jogged a little bit, but it's still going to take place. And we ask everyone to bring a non-perishable food item, particularly canned tuna, to benefit Visti. Thank you.
Thank you. Julie, also, later today, we're going to vote on the non-motorized vehicle component today. I would like your input on that, if I may.
So, yeah, I think most of us have seen those kinds of vehicles in action in other cities. From my understanding with the way that, you know, you're not allowed to drink, you bring your own beverages, they're not serving you on the cart, and you have to leave it on the cart. You know, there's certainly some things to make sure happen properly and are, you know, rules that are followed. But I think it's one of those things where this is an opportunity for us to have, again, I always say that when downtown has to have different experiences than anywhere else in the city. We do have a robust, amazing downtown, but we also are a very large city in terms of landmass. So we have, you know, we're competing with the suburbs, and we're competing with Lakeside Village, we're competing with, you know, the strip centers on South Florida. There's so many new places, so many new restaurants have popped up. So I'm always looking for ideas to have unique experiences that you can only get downtown, because that's sort of our, you know, our hook. And so for me, I was excited about this project because it does give us that experience. The folks who are implementing this, I'm sure you guys, your city staff, and you are going to give them lots of you know, rules that they have to follow, and they're going to have to do a really good job of making sure that they do those things. But I think it's an opportunity to really have something fun. People, just like, you know, even if you don't actively participate in it, it's fun to see when you're driving down the street, folks having a good time, and they're just an interesting thing to look at. Much like the lights, I think folks are going to be like, oh wow, we have that in downtown Lakeland. And my understanding, you know, and I'm sure they've emphasized this to you, this is not about drinking. It's, you know, you can have art tours, you can have historic building tours. So, you know, it's just a fun component that I think we should, you know, seriously consider adding.
Also, I applaud the events going on. Have you had any reduction, think, in homeless and the loitering because of the downtown, the Saturday events? Does that seem to be moving forward or getting less? Or
The population downtown changes, and I think it changes not only with the seasons, but I think it also, you know, just changes because we seem to get an influx of new folks. So I think we are all working well together on implementing ways to make bad behaviors fewer in downtown. As far as I'm concerned, and I know that you guys share this, of course, as well, you know, being homeless is not a crime. So folks who might stay in Lighthouse or Talbot House and spend their days sitting in Munn Park on a bench, reading a book or talking to their friends, you know, that's using our public spaces the way that you and I would use our public spaces. Where we have some challenges is we have some folks who, I think we all sort of behave differently at home than we do in public. And so, you know, you're a little more relaxed, you kind of let things hang out, so to speak, sometimes literally. And so we want folks to respect the public space and behave in a way that we would all expect each other to behave when we are sharing that space. So many things have been done, and by your staff, city manager has done an amazing job of being a partner with working through things, asking what can be done and implementing some of those. And yeah, the things that have been done so far have absolutely helped, but it's not going to solve, you know, a problem if that's what we're looking to do. And I think with our efforts to add some additional security, it's about disrupting sort of the comfortableness of when we want to behave badly, whoever we are, we're going to have additional eyes on us, and we don't want it to be a space where the public takes a secondary role in sort of commanding the use of that space. So I think we're all working together, but we're never going to solve it. And I think once we move past the idea of solving it and just managing it to the best of our abilities, then I think we're going to feel some more success.
Thank you. And one last issue. When do you think they're going to implement the golf carts?
Oh,
The squeeze.
Yeah, the squeeze is, Sarah will know more.
so I'm glad you're excited about that. We're excited at the Transit Authority about it as well. We're waiting on the delivery of the golf carts. So evidently during COVID, there was a rush on golf carts. So we're waiting for those gas-powered carts. I think they should be in the next couple weeks, and it'll only take us 5 or 6 days to turn them around.
Because I've been advocating that for a long, long time. I think it's going to be a good thing for the city, but I hadn't seen them yet, and I was just wondering if it's going to come to fruition.
We're
Thanks for the
working very
clarity.
diligently to get them
Thank you.
down there.
I'm done.
Really? Commissioner McLeod.
Thank you. Thank you, Julie, for the update and for all you do in downtown. And I love the newness that we're seeing, the new events, the expanded sidewalk, the lighting, and just appreciative of your office working with the city management staff. And I know Sean and I have had many discussions about how do we make downtown more vibrant, more events, more life, a place, like you said, that is different from the rest of the city. When you talk about a pedestrian-centric plan, what are your thoughts on pedestrian corridors and having a street one day that is pedestrian only? And I know that's it's a topic that's been talked about. I love it personally. I know there are many components that go into that, to closing streets, but I'm just curious your thoughts on that as you talk about the future of downtown and pedestrian-centric.
Well, I will say that, I am not a traffic engineer, and and so I want to be very careful that, what I think is actually how you implement that on the ground, because I think that the city has very capable staff at all levels who can, take a crazy idea and then, really digest it and say, okay, how do we work through that in a way that can really be implemented. So I come from New Orleans. I totally get closing the streets. My concern about that from the standpoint of how that's implemented is that we are not a tourist town, and the day activities in downtown are primarily business. And so it's very difficult for me to see us closing one block of the city and emphasizing that this is the coolest place in downtown to be when we have many blocks with many great businesses. And so, there's that component. But the other part of just sort of the overall totality of pedestrian friendliness is, we have a lot of side intersections that still need new ramps over the course of the next, several years. So before we rip those up and redo the ramps in their current state, is there a way to reconfigure that intersection with more pedestrian-friendly aesthetics, where it's bricking the entire intersection versus just the pedestrian walkways or things like that. So I don't want to get ahead of my meeting with community development and CRA, but those are the kinds of ideas, and sometimes they talk me off a ledge and say that's crazy. I'll say it here. I'd love to see a roundabout somewhere implemented in downtown. I know that's crazy, but we all know how they can improve safety, and they certainly work better for pedestrians. But again, I don't know how that fits, and it's just one of those crazy ideas that we've got to sort of talk through. But we are very car-centric, and the other part of the city being so large in terms of landmass and where people live, it's a lot of people are driving into downtown. And so they live in the suburbs, and they're used to jumping out of their car and parking right in front of where they want to be and going into that store, and then they come downtown and they have to shift. And if they don't shift from that suburban mentality to that urban mentality, that's where we have the complaints about there's not enough parking. Everyone wants to park in front of Palace Pizza at lunch. That's physically impossible. So how do we create an environment where people feel more comfortable parking 2 blocks away and actually enjoy the walk?
Thank you.
Commissioner Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Ms. Julie. We have had these discussions over the years, but I want to share with you that I appreciate, what you have always done, and as I've seen in the number of years that I've served here on the dais, and that is allowing the public to know how well staff works with you. And I think sometimes we lose that because we get to saying the government does not do things, the government does not do things. But even though we've had some challenges, of course, but as always, you applaud the accomplishments that staff has had with making what we want downtown Lincoln to become, and what it is becoming, as we even share, as have you shared in your report today. A couple of questions, though. We're going to be losing Explorations 5 Museum. The space next door is still unoccupied. Any thoughts on, and if that's something that you might want to take up with us and with me and my colleagues later, fine. But I know there's going to be a big empty hole there almost, right there in Kentucky. And you go from one spot and then boom, heading north to the historic area, as we call it, and it's going to be blank, nothing there. And then also, whatever happened with other suggestions I thought that you all were kind of spearheading when it comes to the now Munn Park and what maybe should go there in the center of the park and what could be used to support, even though I know the city's doing the music thing now, but whatever happened with that?
So as far as explorations goes, obviously the properties are owned, by private entities. We are not some sort of management company that can say and direct where types of businesses can go. So with that, I would love to see someone buy that building and do retail or restaurant on the ground floor, because again, we need every parcel in the core of downtown to be something that the public can interact with. So office would make me sad. And I would like to see, on the second floor, you can certainly do office and or residential. But again, who buys that building and what they see the return on their investment for what they create in that space is always going to dictate, much like what happened with the Nathan's Men's Store building. And Wauchula State Bank knows this, so I'm not speaking out of school. Wasn't thrilled that a bank was going into that space, but we've activated the second floor with Kimley Horn. We're getting Banquet 61 to face Kentucky. They've done a huge amount of investment in that space, and that's what made sense for the folks who bought it, to get that kind of tenant who could pay bank rates versus retail rates, which are significantly different. So there were some trade-offs there. I met with the Wauchula State Bank folks, and we all huggy-lovey now, and everything's fine. Happy to have them, very happy to have them downtown. But that's sort of the case with explorations, is that we can talk with CRA and LDDA board and say maybe we incentivize something specific we'd like to see there, and that's the most we can do really to direct any kind of activity in a particular parcel. As far as Munn Park and the activity and energy there, city manager has given you this drip lights, the string lights across the street. We're actively working towards, he's got some great ideas that he's probably already shared with you that I won't steal his thunder on other activities that can happen in Munn Park. So the center, as much as we initially got a lot of feedback from the public that they wanted to see something there, I think the cooler heads prevailed in this case, where you guys were just like, let's let it sit and let it just sort of play it out and see how it goes. And that was the right decision, to do nothing, let it see how we can use that space best. I don't know if it, again, when we did our interactions with the community about what folks would like to see there, there's no one right answer. And so if we were to put something there, we're going to make mad a certain percentage of the community. So I don't want to see something repeated. Like I said before, anything that happens in downtown, in my opinion, needs to be a different experience than what you're going to find somewhere else, even somewhere else in downtown. So, a water feature, we have that at Barnett Park. A statue of a swan, we have that at Lake Krieger Park. A fountain, we literally have that in Munn Park already. So what could we put there? Art we have on Lemon Street, we have the Volunteer Monument. So we have amazing spaces in downtown. I don't want to duplicate that experience in the center. And, I think leaving it as is and giving the other ideas that are coming from your staff the opportunity to play out is the best way forward for now.
Thank you.
Commissioner Music.
Yes, as the commissioner that's on the LEDA board, I want to congratulate you for your presentation today, but also thank you for your leadership, and the buy-in of the other board members is phenomenal. Two things. When I look at explorations leaving and I look at Munn Park, I see opportunity, right? I see a lot of possibilities and things that can go in there. So I'm excited, although, again, a little trepidatious depending on who comes in, but I do think that a blank canvas is a great opportunity. You skipped over quickly one of your first two slides, kind of the budget and the revenue. And I would like to, as somebody who enjoys the Saturday market, as I think most people do that get an opportunity to go down there, can you hit, because you gave me quite an education when I came in about where that has started and where it is now, from not only a great opportunity for people to come down, but also now a revenue stream. So can you spend a little bit of time talking about the wait list and the excitement you have
Sure.
about vendors coming in?
Yeah, so the market used to just occupy the space north of the railroad tracks, and then pandemic hit, and we shut down for about 11 weeks. And then I approached the city about allowing us to expand all the way down to Lemon Street so that we could space out our vendors, at least 10 feet apart, and then that gave the public more space, obviously, as well. And we, markets all over the country and in Florida were remaining open because they were considered essential as a food service, and we have that SNAP program, so a lot of folks who got those benefits weren't able to double without us being open. So we reopened in May of 2020 in that new footprint. And I knew that the South Kentucky merchants were going to love having the market. They were always looking for something to sort of match that Saturday energy that the North Side had. So it's been a huge success. The public loves it. The vendors love it. We get people from all over the region because we're probably the largest market anywhere around. We get people from Tampa, we get people from Orlando, because they feel now that it's so large that it's worth the trip. When you go to an event and you show up and there's 5 or 10 booths and you're just like, I spent all this time parking and getting out of my car, and there's just not a lot to do. So now we have on our list of vendors who are eligible to come on any given Saturday, 160. 93 of them are full-time, which means they are scheduled to come every single Saturday, of course, unless they choose not to for some personal reason. So the revenue that we generate from that, we don't take a percentage of sales. We just charge them a small fee to be there each week, and that has now generated over $110,000 this year for the LDDA, which means that the staff who's spending time on that, instead of being paid out of the tax dollars, they are paid out of the revenues of the events that they run. So they are both completely financially self-sufficient, and we're constantly turning folks away because we have to be careful that we're not saturating the market with too many of the same types of products, and then those vendors don't make money. So we have a vetting process. We're always looking for folks who make their own goods, even the food products. They're bottling their own pickles, they're canning their own sauces, and so it's truly that sort of artisan feel. We don't have anybody selling socks and things like that they buy in bulk and just resell. We're very careful to try to make sure that it has that high threshold of integrity. So we're very, it keeps us very busy. Like I said earlier, the admin of answering all of the emails and applications and processing the applications and making sure that the food vendors have all of their proper licensing from the state. So many folks are just like, I cook spaghetti sauce at home and I'd love to share it at the market. Well, you know, that's not how the state of Florida does things. You have to have a commissary kitchen, you have to have certain licenses. So we have to talk through that with those folks. We try to help them as best we can. We send a lot of folks to Catapult because we're like, hey, this is where you can go and really fine tune your business. And so we're just, we're excited that it helps to create something in downtown that doesn't actually cost the taxpayers anything, and it gives so many folks the opportunity to showcase their products and services. We've had 10 businesses over the course of the 17 years of the market. 10 of our vendors have left the market and opened bricks and mortar. So it doesn't seem like a lot over 17 years, but anyone who owns a small business and the difficulties of that can probably think that's a pretty good number.
Yeah, and I think that's great because a lot of them, this is a second business for them, or a side hustle, as it were. So I think that's great to see. But no, again, I don't want to gloss over. I mean, $110,000. You know, off of something that not only is the city and the LDDA able to use that revenue for things, but the individuals that are there are making money. So
Right.
and then implementing Catapult as well. So anyway, well done. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Commissioner Madden.
You can tell that you are a popular speaker at our meetings. We are also excited about everything you've been doing, and especially during this past year and a half. To think that we've made progress and that we've continued to be able to serve our public and also visitors is really exciting. So I just had a couple of comments on 3 of the things that you mentioned. Certainly, if you're going to have a meeting with the CRA on a pedestrian-centric downtown, I hope that you'll consider a pedestrian High Line. One of the things that I know, just like you with the bank, you know, certainly nothing against banks, but when you're an urban planner, keeping open spaces and letting each of the buildings be something that the public can go into. I know that was one of the points with the Summit building, that creates a little dead space there with the parking garage going up Massachusetts and trying to activate that thoroughfare as well. But one of the things that, you know, certainly was in the design at the beginning when we were master planning was the pedestrian High Line that gives public access to a higher view of the lake, as if they were one of the folks who gets to enjoy that view every day who work inside the Summit building. So I'm hopeful that something of an amenity that would make our city special, like Greenville we've talked about in the past, having that walk bridge over the waterway, would be something that I think this commission would certainly want to support. So I hope that that's also in the mix of where that would be. I know we've also discussed a pedestrian High Line over to Bonnet Springs, which is not the downtown, so there could be other things in the work. But I hope that that is at least on the table in your discussions, that pedestrian High Line. Also, I know that with the Oak Lot under RFP right now, another parking concern. You know, I know you say that there's plenty of parking. What I would contest is that the certainty is what our visitors need. So when you go to Hyde Park, you know where you're going to park. You don't think you're going to park in front of the place you want to shop. You plan to stay several hours, but you have to know where that parking garage is. And so if there is a spot when you are determining pedestrian activity and parking, and with that lot potentially having build out, that's a big lot for the Saturday market. And that side, that north side of downtown, great for Heritage Garage, but I'm concerned about where the certainty is for our visitors and for our residents, north and south, to come and park and then enjoy the day in downtown. So those are 2 things I just hope are on the map and in the plans when you meet with CRA. The other thing, so excited about the Fresh Access bucks. And certainly, you know, I know that kids in school received extra cards this year, but I would hate for, you know, when we get out of the pandemic, for folks not to come and get fresh food as frequently as they did in this past year. Sounds like it was really successful. So I was curious with your marketing campaign that you mentioned, if we're working with nonprofits and, you know, those folks who are trying to advocate Polk County being a food desert of sorts, you know, that they can come to the Saturday market. I hope that those SNAP dollars are figured into our, you know, the population of folks, giving everyone access, not leaving anyone behind, making sure everyone can come and shop, you know, at our Saturday market. So I hope that's part of the marketing thing, is for those folks. And then the last thing, I know that, I've got kids in the age, the 20s age who go to Tampa a lot, and actually been inviting their friends to come to Lakeland and go to Excalibur and go to the rec room. What I'm curious about, you mentioned both your website and I know you have emails and Facebook. I'm hoping on the marketing campaign that you can do some geofencing, so if they've come from Tampa and they're at the rec room, or if they're at Excalibur, they can get a pop-up and say, hey, we also have these Tasty Tuesdays, get a ticket today and come back on Tuesday, or things that alert them on their phones of things that are happening. Because I know even I get the emails, and so it's a lot to read, like, oh, okay, so Tuesdays is that, and the trucks is which Thursday. So to have instant access, either through Instagram or on Snapchat, they both do the, geofencing, that you could get those alerts to folks who are already downtown who need the next thing to do so that they stay longer and patronize all of the folks downtown. So anyway, I'm super excited. I can't wait for the squeeze. I think the games in Munn Park are so great. Commissioner McCarley already mentioned so many other of our favorite towns. There's just like lawn and games where you can just rest a little bit and then go back to another retail establishment. So great job, super excited, and thank you so much for your presentation.
Thanks, and I have taken note of all of what you said. It's on tape, so I'll watch it again. So anyway, thank you so much.
I have a closing comment, if you don't mind.
Yes,
I'll
sir.
call it myself. So I think when you listen to this, and it may seem that like these comments are a little long with respect to downtown, but it's a reflection of how important downtown is to us as a city. And so we are grateful for you. And I will tell you, Julie is a marvelous arbitrator many times between the difficulty of vendors who may have a specific interest and the needs of all downtown citizens and other businesses. And I think she's uniquely positioned to do this excellently, and that you do that. And so I give you very high compliments, and I think you can sense that from our commission as well. I also want to compliment our city manager, because his enthusiasm about downtown and the cooperation with Parks and Recs in terms of what has been implemented recently is a great reflection of that. And finally, I want us to think about, this is White Cane Safety Day that we're going to do a proclamation on as well. When we think about ADA implementation downtown, we're very cognitive of the things that we are conscious of, the things that we need to be doing, and we want to listen well to things that we are missing in the process of that. And so even when we make some of the comments, I would invite you, maybe if you can touch base and help us fine tune, we want to be able to do those things, because we want it to be a place that citizens can come regardless of abilities and be able to enjoy. And so thank you so much, and thank you to you, sir, for all the work you do that. You want to make any comment?
I would love to.
All right.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I was going to ask, and I hope it's
I see it on your face.
I hope it's appropriate for me to go now after the commission has spoken, but I also want to thank Julie and the LDDA, because we do have a tremendous partnership, and it's been greatly beneficial to me. As some examples that you've heard today, after Commissioner Madden and the commission's encouragement for me to visit other places around the country, when I came back from Indianapolis, and started talking to Julie, and we were talking about, the overhead street lighting and string lighting and the drip lighting, and then Parks and Rec came up with an innovative way, to make that happen. Julie vetted that out, and we moved forward with it. When we talked about, I came back and started talking about street parties and more signature events in the downtown. Julie was quick to find Buena Market and came and said, hey, if the city can partner with us, we can do a couple of these as a proof of concept. And it went well, and I think, sets us up for more in the future. And then same thing, and I've talked with the commission about some of the things we can do around Munn Park that would be some kind of semi-permanent active uses. Julie then came up with the idea, well, before we go that far, what if we just do some of the games and the kind of more temporary uses as a proof of concept, which was a great idea, and we're anxious and excited about moving forward with that. So it's a great relationship. The downtown is certainly important. I think it helps set the tone for the entirety of the community. And so, Julie, I really appreciate all the assistance that I get from you in partnership.
And to your point, Commissioner Walker, about, the staff, And you know, it's not lip service. You guys know me very well. I will tell you what I think. And you know, it's hard. These guys have difficult jobs. There's a lot of people to please. You know, from the city manager's office, you know, throughout the different layers of your staff to the folks who implement things on the ground, who are cutting concrete, they all do a really great job. And just on the ground talking with them, they care about the city, they want to do the right thing. And, you know, and you can't ask for more than that. So I just hope that the community realizes that, you know, don't be quick to criticize, because there are so many things that are going on that you just have no idea. So great job. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. The next thing that we are going to do, and I assume I'm hot on this. Yes? No? Yes? Hello? There we go. The next thing that we are going to celebrate is Constitution Week, and I'm going to have some people come forward for that. When I was 10 years old, my dad gave me, for my birthday, a book called The Constitution of the United States. This was my birthday present. As a 10-year-old, it wasn't really what I was thinking about. I've just got to admit to you, okay? But it is because it was so foundational, and it was something he wanted to make sure that I recognized the importance and the value of. And so we take a week each year to recognize that. So come on up front, and we're going to make this presentation. Here to receive the proclamation is the children of the American Revolution and daughters of the American Revolution. This particular child right here, who is Ben Madden, is the only prodigy of the already elected next session of this commission. So the longest tenured person for the future. Where is she?
I'm right here taking a picture.
Oh, okay. Stephanie Madden, because she had no opposition last Friday, and so she's actually already elected into her new position. You might give her a round of applause. So allow me to read the proclamation, then you can make some comments after the fact. Whereas September 17th, 2021 marks the 234th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. And whereas it is fitting and proper to officially recognize this magnificent document and the anniversary of its creation, and whereas it is fitting and proper to officially recognize the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion, and whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America, designating September 17th through 23rd as Constitution Week. Now therefore, I, H. William Mutz, Mayor of the City of Lakeland, do hereby proclaim September 17th through the 23rd, 2021, as Constitution Week in the City of Lakeland, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals that the framers of the Constitution had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through the guardian of our liberties, remembering that lost rights may never be regained. In witness whereof, I have hereto set my hand and caused the official seal of the City of Lakeland to be affixed this 20th day of September 2021. I want to point out that as Benjamin Franklin left the constitutional creation, he was asked, "What do you think about what was created?" And he says, "It's brilliant if you can keep it." And you see, and Eric Metaxas has just written a new book on this, If You Can Keep It, which I'd highly recommend you look at, because this was the first time a nation was ever cast considering virtue as a value that could make it possible to keep it. Because prior to that, kingdoms were set up by the tyranny and the strongest armies, and whoever ruled is who was king and was therefore honored. That's not what we have. So it takes virtue, it takes faith, it takes values to sustain this republic, and that's what this celebrates. So let me give you a copy each of this. And then who would like to make some comments with respect?
We, the Daughters of the American Revolution and the Children of the American Revolution, would like to thank the City of Lakeland for this proclamation and for noting this time in our history. And of such an important time that the years of the revolution led to the founding of everything that we stand for today. And the daughters and the sons of the American Revolution actually founded the children of the American Revolution for that reason. So the young people of today and of the times past can join with us in being proud of this country and knowing the foundation of the country. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, can we get a picture of Stephanie up there with her?
Yes, we certainly can. It would be appropriate. We'll sit a little bit. Come over this way, Ben. About that, yes, I'm sorry.
All right, one more. Ready? 3, 2, 1. 2, 1. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Next, we have our White Cane Safety Day. So if everyone could move forward for that, that would be terrific. And we can use the ramp here on the side. We appreciate so much your being here. You do a great job with that chair. By the way, while they are coming, and I'll use this time, White Cane Day for Lighthouse for the Blind and Low Vision is going to have a breakfast and activities during their White Cane Awareness Day celebration on Thursday, October the 14th, 2021, from 9 to 11 in the morning. If you're using Citrus Connection Paratransit or the fixed bus routes, you can be at the Lighthouse by 9 a.m. So if there's any questions on this, you can call 299-3633, and the Lighthouse for the Blind and Low Vision. We may want to have another comment made on that in a minute, also later. All right, come this way a little more on this side. We'll fill in. You're good. You're good. We're going to fill into you. All right. Just keep pushing me. Here to receive the proclamation today for White Cane Safety Day is Jenny Sykes with the City of Lakeland, and to make sure, I was looking for Greg, he's not here, and Darlene Sellers, formerly of the Division of Blind Services, Cheryl Brown with the Lighthouse for the Blind Low Vision, Jackie Bowman, founded the Lakeland chapter of the Hearing Loss Association, and Manny Champa-Vanrath. I always leave a syllable out, Manny, and I am sorry. Agency for Persons with Disability. So allow me to read this proclamation. Whereas on October 6, 1964, a joint resolution of Congress was signed into law authorizing the President of the United States to proclaim October 15th of each year as the White Cane Safety Day. And whereas the White Cane law was created to ensure the right to travel independently using a white cane or a guide dog wherever a person who is blind or has visual impairments chose to go. And whereas the white cane, in addition to being a practical mobility tool, serves as a symbol of dignity, freedom, and independence for individuals who are blind or have visual impairments. On White Cane Safety Day, our nation celebrates the immeasurable contributions individuals who are blind and have visual impairments have made as valued members of our diverse country. And whereas the City of Lakeland has made a commitment to greater accessibility for all citizens and visitors and will continue to strive to provide accessible programs and services to the community, and whereas the Lakeland Alliance for Accessibility will continue to support the city's efforts to enhance accessibility for all citizens and visitors. Now, therefore, I, H. William Mutz, Mayor of the City of Lakeland, do hereby proclaim Friday, October 15th, 2021 as White Cane Safety Day in the City of Lakeland, and then sign that and witness thereof. And I will hand this to someone else who will hold it because Jenny's going to need to make some comments. There we go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Mutz. And I'm going to sort of reintroduce folks real quick in just a moment. But first, I just wanted to say thank you, Mr. Mayor, and also to Greg James, who's the Assistant Director of Public Works, who had to be at a meeting this morning, for your ongoing encouragement and support of all that we've been doing in the last few years to improve accessibility in Lakeland. The current federal estimates in this country are that 1 in 4 adults experiences a disability. That's 1 in 4. Of that, the estimate is that 5% have visual impairments. This translates to approximately 4.3 million people, which is why we recognize White Cane Safety Day. An additional statistic is that approximately 2 million Floridians currently have a disabled parking permit. And in Polk County, that figure is approximately 91,000 individuals. So right here in Polk County, approximately 91,000 individuals have a disabled parking permit. Now, these are not just statistics. These figures represent our family members, our friends, our neighbors, and our veterans. It's important that we all remember that we share our community with individuals who face obstacles every day to doing the things that we consider just ordinary activities. That's why we focus on making Lakeland as accessible as possible for individuals with disabilities. And to continue to do that effectively, we need your input. My name is on the bottom of the city's website homepage. If you have suggestions about accessibility, please contact me at any time. You may not be aware, but many of the suggestions we've received, we have acted on, so your input does matter. And very briefly, I'm just going to reintroduce Jackie Bowman on the far side, formerly of the Lakeland Hearing Loss Association, Mickey Brown of Noah's Landing, Darlene Sellers, formerly of Division of Blind Services, Cheryl Brown, the Director of Lighthouse for the Blind and Low Vision, and Manny Von Champavanarath, took me 5 years to pronounce Champavanarath, of the Agency for Persons with Disabilities, and also the Chair of the Family Care Council in Lakeland. And I'd like to know if any of you would like to share any comments.
On behalf of the Lighthouse for the Blind and everyone in Polk County that's blind or visually impaired, I want to thank you, Mayor and City Commission, for recognizing White Cane Day. Even though it was enacted in 1964, there's still a lot of people that don't know what it is, which is why we celebrate every October and the 14th or 15th. And we invite you to come out and join us as we walk from the Lighthouse on Avenue D in Winter Haven to over to 6th Street. And just to let the public know that there is such a thing and you need to yield to all pedestrians, but with a white cane or a guide dog. Thank you so much.
I just want to thank everybody again for we take a lot for granted. And when we have Darlene and we have Manny, we look at some of the challenges they face. It is very important as we move forward to make sure that we are ADA compliant.
I do have to say roundabouts are not nice for people that are visually impaired.
Actually, just to add, Darlene, who's on our Lakeland Alliance for Accessibility, had shared input about roundabouts as well. It might seem counterintuitive, but since individuals with vision loss rely on the cues of traffic moving back and forth, when they go in a circle, they no longer have those visual cues.
Interesting, yeah.
I learn something new every day.
Very good. And so you'd have to have some additional ways to make that easy for that to be navigated as you go along. That's good to know. Very good.
Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so we are going to get together for a COVID appropriate picture.
Yeah, what's that look like? Yeah?
Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. One more. 3, 2, 1. All right, thank you.
Are they here? Are they here?
So the tropics are here, yes? Yes, sorry. What isn't here is my proclamation for you. Okay. So that, we're just double checking. And I don't know if you can find that proclamation, Edme. It isn't included in this. And bring it forward if so. Otherwise, we may move you to the next meeting if that is all right. Would you like, while you're here, and Edme might be looking, can you come up and just kind of tell us a little bit about what is going on the tropics side?
Good morning, sure. So I'm Yadira Holmes. I'm the board president for the Lakeland Tropics Youth Football Club. We are the largest soccer club here in Lakeland. I think we have maybe a proclamation.
Oh, look at that. Very good.
So just this month is U.S. National Soccer celebrates September as Youth Soccer Month. And so we wanted to have a proclamation just to share a little bit about soccer. So actually, if I'll speak first and then you can do the proclamation. But we absolutely wanted to thank the city and especially our Parks and Rec department. They do an incredible job helping us to produce, facilities where our kids can play. We have over 2,000 kids that play with us every year, every season. Our travel kids not only represent Lakeland here at home, but we go as far as sometimes Virginia. My kids are headed to North Carolina this year to play. So, I mean, we represent Lakeland across the state and, throughout the Southeast. So thank you guys so much for your support. And, we hope you'll continue to support youth soccer in our community.
Yadira, you do a great job with this, and it's a very important program, and there's people up here that actually played in it as they grew up, and so that's been and you have had probably some of your children playing it as well. I certainly have used it many, many times, many years. So let's read the proclamation. Whereas Youth Soccer Month is celebrated every September to help bring attention to the sport of soccer and to encourage and promote a healthy, active lifestyle, and whereas collectively, our community strives to encourage greatness and achievement in our young people. And whereas for more than 20 years, the Lakeland Tropics Football Club, a not-for-profit organization, has been committed to providing a superior soccer experience for all area youth by offering highly competitive recreational and team travel opportunities. And whereas this commitment is accomplished through an organization of volunteers and soccer professionals who administer the training programs, and the intent as an organization is to promote pride, which is perseverance, respect, and the integrity to develop excellence in youth, both on and off the field. And whereas more than 1,800 kids aged 3 through 18 participate in Lakeland Tropics Football Club programs annually. This includes the TOPS program, which serves children with intellectual and developmental disabilities, for which we're grateful as well. Whereas Tropics youth help excel both on and off the field according to the depth of skills and character in their schools, with their families, and in the community. And whereas the Lakeland Tropics Football Club kicked off 2021 to 2022 soccer on Saturday, September 18th, with an opening day celebration, and whereas the Lakeland Tropics Football Club will play year-round from September 21st, 2021 to May 2022, and whereas Tropics youth travel teams will bring Lakeland pride across the state, playing from Panama City to Key Biscayne. In addition, some teams will also play across the Southeast region, including South Carolina, North Carolina, and Georgia. And whereas the City of Lakeland celebrates our long partnership with the Lakeland Tropics Youth Football Club and offers our support for a safe and thriving soccer season, I signed it, okay? There you go. And so we thank you very much for that, and there's your proclamation. And I apologize for a stumbling start.
Okay. We're good.
Ready? 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. All right, thank you.
Mayor, I have a question for.
Yes, go ahead.
Can
Commissioner
you
Reed.
tell us how many children participate in your club membership now?
So right now, we've got, we opened up our fall season. We've got probably about 800 that'll be in our interleague, which is our recreation program. And then we've got about 350 or so in our travel program. So we're up to about 1,200. COVID really set us back. We had to cancel a season, during COVID. So we're kind of getting back to those numbers. But, we have a great time and the kids love it, and that's what we're here for.
And you play at Lake Parker Park?
We do. So thankfully, the city is so awesome. We play at Lake Parker Park. We use Tiger Town. And during the year, if we can use Cypress, we also use Cypress.
And you do 10 through 19 on your competitive teams?
Yeah, we go from U8 to U19 on the travel side. Yes. And I'd love to get you involved because I hear you're a soccer fan.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thanks, guys.
Good job. You recognized that well.
I did.
Thank you, Yadira.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
guys.
All right, that takes us past our educational part of the city time, and now we'll work on business matters. The first is the committee reports and related items. We have a real estate and transportation committee meeting on Friday, and there are 2 items, and our chairman, Commissioner Reed, will walk us through those.
Thank you, Mayor. The Real Estate and Transportation Committee met on September 17, 2001 at 8:15 via GoToMeeting. The meeting was available by viewing to the public online and the local cable channels. Commissioner Bill Reed, Chair, Commissioner Chad McLeod, Mike Music members were present. Mayor Bill Muntz, Commissioner Steffi Madden, Sarah McCauley, Phil Walker were present along with the staff and proposed meeting to discuss these items. We had 2 orders of business. The first being lease agreement with Skyway Leasing, Inc. This was proposed lease agreement between Skyway Leasing, Inc., referred to as Skyway, for an office and classroom space at 3130 Flightline Drive. Skyway is a Florida-based company seeking to lease approximately 820 square feet of office and classroom space to provide aviation training and aircraft rental service, as well as 4 tie-down spaces for aircraft. The term of the lease will be for 1 year with an effective date of October 1, 2021, subject to the City Commission's approval. The lease contains 4 additional 1-year lease renewal options upon mutual agreement between the parties. Skyway will pay a base rent of $820 per month commencing October 31st. Monthly rental amount includes utilities but not include applicable sales tax, which Skyway will also pay in addition to the base rent. Rent shall be subject to an annual increase of 2.5% of any subsequent renewal term. Staff recommend that the city approve this lease with Skyway and authorize the appropriate city officials to finalize and execute this lease consistent with the above specified terms. Commissioner Chad McLeod moved to approve the lease agreement. It was seconded by Commissioner Mike Music. The motion carried unanimously. The second order of business was a purchase and sale agreement with English Creek LLC for the purchase of property located at south of Pipkin Road, west of Mandela Road for a Southwest Park. The proposed purchase agreement between the City of Lakeland and Estelis Trees is for approximately 101.5 acres of vacant land south of West Pipkin Road, west of Mandela Road for a future community park. The city has been attempting to acquire land to construct a community park in the southwest area for many years. The park land would enable the provision to recreational amenities in the southwest quadrant of Lakeland. The city's most recent park and recreation master plan and comprehensive plan identified a deficiency in that particular area. The quadrant of city and the Lakeland acquisition would enable the future recreational amenities to be constructed with funds as they become available. Under the agreement, the city will pay the purchase price of $7 million for the property. The city has identified 2 sources of funding for the purchase. Park District 2 impact fees in the amount of $3,525,000. 2, proceeds from the 2001 capital bond in the amount of $3,500,000. A Phase 1 environmental study, survey, and appraisal have been completed and has identified no areas of concern. Closing will close approximately 30 days after city commission approval. The city will pay for the title insurance, recording fee on the deed, while the seller will pay documentary stamps and the property taxes through the closing date. Staff recommended that the city commission approve the purchase and the sale of English Creek for the purchase of $7 million and authorize the mayor to execute all instruments necessary to finalize this transaction. In addition, increase in estimated revenue of $2,525,000 from the Park District Impact Fee Fund, unappropriated surplus from the Public Improvement Fund, which already contains a budget of $1 million for this project, and appropriate and increase the estimated revenue of $3.5 million from the unappropriated surplus of the 2021 Capital Bond Fund for the Public Improvement Fund. Commissioner McLeod moved to approve the recommendation. Commissioner Music seconded, and the motion carries unanimously.
Right. Is there a motion to approve the committee recommendation?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right. Discussion by commissioners. Commissioner McCarley and then Commissioner Madden.
So on the land purchase for the park in Southwest Lakeland, we're paying roughly $68,900 for an acre, $68,900.
It's about 82 acres, what I understand, of net usable land. There's some lakes there and stuff like that, but Sean can probably,
So then it would be more per acre. I'm just doing a rough estimate on the acreage. It's about $68,000 per acre that we're purchasing.
I'd say closer to 70, just make a round number.
So is that, since you're in development, is that a normal price for this type of land where it is in Southwest Lakeland?
For that particular area, yes. There again, this particular property was zoned industrial, and which I don't think anybody would use it for that because it is kind of in the fly line area. But invariably, from my understanding, I know they're paying that much or more for residential development land in the general area.
So even the Riverstone development and then other development that we're going to talk about later that's west of Riverstone, did that go for about the same amount of money?
That piece did not. It was bought longer time ago, but I would guess about the same amount. I haven't looked at it. I'm not familiar with the contract from Hawthorne, and so I'm not really sure about that. But I know other pieces around that general area are $70,000 or $100,000 or more, particularly on Drain Field Road.
An acre?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner, we did have the property appraised and the purchase price is well within the appraised value that we received.
Thanks, Palmer.
In addition to that, Commissioner, if I can add, there were other properties that we were also interested in and doing some due diligence on that were at a higher per acre value than what this was agreed upon.
That's a good question. Commissioner Madden.
Thank you, Mayor. I was wondering if we could have Pam Page or Bob Donahue come. I really appreciated Friday's discussion, and I hate for the general public to not be privy to that. They have been on the search for land in that area for quite some time, and certainly we don't have dollars in our CIP for the build out of the land for quite some time. But if you think about some of the conversations with the LDDA discussion and how we have gone from a car-centric suburban sprawl model in Lakeland to trying to make sure that every spot in our town is pedestrian and bike friendly, it's accessible, connected, even from when you have two restaurants on South Florida, to have ingress and egress to get to a street instead of each apron coming out onto South Florida, bogging down the traffic. It's just, in my mind, interesting to see the evolution in planning in Lakeland. And for this particular piece of property to then see later on in this meeting, we'll be also talking about more residential being approved. When you think about in town, Common Ground Park, how, what a beautiful amenity that is. Well, and then you have the golf course. Well, we would argue, should the golf course be subsidized, or do we like common ground, or do we like individual features? But I believe the genius from the Parks and Rec Department was when they did the 3-park trail. And then it wasn't just about driving to park at the golf course if you're a golfer. It was all of a sudden the beautiful golf course is accessible to walkers and bikers when they bike and walk around that beautiful golf course. So they get to enjoy that beauty whether they golf or not. connects them to the baseball park, connects them to the dog park, connects them to common ground, connects them to tennis. And all of a sudden, you see the pedestrian and bike activity in that whole neighborhood, that whole center city activating, where it might not have been before. It would have been you drive to the golf course and it's right across the street from the common ground or the bike. And instead of building surface lots of parking, with every amenity, now we have all of this cross access and all this vibrancy. So when you were talking about this particular piece of property located within and nestled in neighborhoods, and then making sure that those neighborhoods have access, pedestrian-friendly, walkable access into this park. I'm just really excited to see what you dream up, because I know, y'all are the dream team back there and will come up with something really special, which we won't realize for a while. But there have been other pieces of property that, like you said, seemed more industrial. Seemed like more industrial parks were building around that. And to plan 10 years out on a piece of property, to already know that it's going to be serving families and neighbors in neighborhoods and be accessible to several of them, is really exciting to me. As someone who really appreciates master planning and kind of going back to that more pedestrian bikeable access. So I don't know if you want to, maybe we'll talk about it
I
later.
think what we have is an invitation for you to come forward and just talk about the appropriateness.
Just cast a little vision here. I know it's just land right now, but it's always, when we spend money to do things, it's kind of nice to see the completed project.
We'll also have a financing comment with respect to that from Mr. Brossard first.
Yeah, before Bob starts, on Friday, I had mentioned that we had no money budgeted for any type of work out there, and I was looking at the impact fee section. I had forgotten that Pam had actually asked for in 2030 some monies to be set aside a number of years ago in case we get some property out there. And there's $1.25 million out there. It's defined as soccer fields right now, but there is the $1.25 million out there in 2030 that I had forgotten about, and that's public improvement fund money that had been there for a long time.
Good to know. Thank you.
Awesome.
Gorgeous piece of property, 101.5 acres. It was appraised at Mayor Pro Tem, at 8.35 was the appraisal, so we're well underneath that. 2 ponds, 15-acre pond, 5-acre pond, flat property, which is going to be great to develop on athletic fields. But the lady that's developed our parks for the last 20 years and led the charge is Pam. I'm going to let the brains speak about what you want to know.
Thank you.
Well, this property is just one of the most unique pieces that we could possibly ever dream of acquiring. And Stephanie, I love the way you put it, is that this 100 acres is smack dab in the middle of the southwest neighborhoods. There are so many people that are living there that now have to get in a car and drive to recreational amenities, that the closest one is Peterson Park. And now, when we can develop this park for multi-purpose fields, all of the people that are going to play there, the kids, the adults, they're going to be able to ride their bikes, they're going to be able to walk, and that's so many cars that we're keeping off of our streets. And it's, Parks and Recreation, we're all about healthy lifestyles. And when we can put a park in the middle of over 5,000 homes, that's what we call forward thinking.
So Pam, thank you for that. Isn't it just north of Pipkin? So they'd have to cross, like Riverstone, and then the new Hawthorne would have to cross Pipkin to go over?
No,
Or is it adjacent?
It's directly adjacent to
Oh, awesome.
Riverstone. It's south.
Oh, good. I was
West
confused. I
Pipkin.
thought it was
South side.
over.
No, it's the south side.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for your pursuit of this, because these things don't happen accidentally either. This has been a long time discussion, and I think it's very appropriate to point out that the seller could have asked for more money for this property than they did. And so for the seller, I think we want to recognize their willingness to see the importance of this kind of an investment and this kind of a provision in a highly growth residential area, because that's part of the legacy they are helping to leave too. It's easy to look at the number we're paying them. It's easy to forget what they might have been able to have flipped this for. So I think that's worth mentioning. Commissioner McLeod.
Thank you, Mayor. So we talked about this a little bit on Friday, Pam, but I was talking with some residents who live in Riverstone over the weekend who are understandably very excited about this. And their question was, how soon will we see fields and amenities? And I tried to temper expectations, but said
by Christmas.
Several years. Just curious, is their kids are young, and like a lot of families out there, I think they're looking to just know, when they'll be able to use a park like this. I know it's a process, but if you could just comment on that.
Sure. Like, we are so fortunate to live in the city of Lakeland that is the most philanthropic town that I have ever lived in. And yes, we're planning financially to do this prudently where we can afford it. But our experience has always been when there's a huge need, somebody comes forward and helps us achieve our dreams. So both Bob and I think that that's going to happen. And yes, we're planning for 10 years out, but we're gone in 2.5 years. And we're hoping that we'll have something in the ground before that happens. But that's going to take somebody coming forward that shares our dream and our passion for recreation in the Southwest area.
Yes, Commissioner Reed.
Thank you. Again, Pam, just as a suggestion in the future, I know it will be a time away, but I know it's got some great fishing in those two lakes there. I know it was stocked and they're quite deep, but that we might encourage those to be catch and release type of apparatus. And again, I've also talked about the city a little bit, maybe some of our lakes within the city that don't have access to public boat ramps that become catch and release ponds as well.
That's a great idea. We'll include it in the master plan that we're going to start hopefully in 30 days.
That's so exciting.
Commissioner Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Ms. Pam. Thank you to my colleague, Commissioner Madden as well. Even though we did have a discussion, like you said, on Friday, but the public tend to, I think, forget about, from a historical perspective, how long this has been. For my 12 years, even plus, on this dais, where we've been talking about a Southwest Regional Park. So we can incorporate not only just a park amenities for those residents that live in that core area, Southwest Lakeland, and also, talk about hopefully a site for a new library campus. We need a library in South Lakeland, so, and we talk about, pretty much, as it was referenced by Commissioner Madden, by parks. She mentioned most of the ones on the south end of town, but we have beautiful parks all over Lakeland. Lake Crago just came out of the ground recently. And Douglas Cook Park, and this is North Lakeland. So we try to make sure, I know, that all our residents all over our city have these kind of amenities where they can go and take their families to enjoy outdoors. Now, I know we have a little challenge that I hate to not so bring it up, but we need to look at some things probably in East Lakeland, because we're looking at some things. I think East Lakeland is becoming somewhat deficit when it comes to park amenities and our young folk trying to get to those park amenities and having to cross, the different corridors to get to where they want to get. And so I think as we talk and as we share, because that has come up before, I'm sure you know, Ms. Pam, about East Lakeland and what we got around Lake Parker part of our city. We got Lake Parker Park, of course, but then when you go east more towards city boundaries, we kind of we scrapped almost. So I'm pleased with what we know we have and how our families are well taken care of in our Parks Department under Ms. Pam and Bob have done very well to support all of our citizens here in our city. And I think it's important our citizens know that, but again, it takes time and it takes money, of course, to be able to do these kind of things as well. Thank you.
Commissioner Music.
Yeah, thank you, Pam. Can you, real quick, from a perspective standpoint, compare the acreage with this parcel with some of our other parks that we have, just from a perspective standpoint?
This parcel is 100 acres. Lake Parker is 113 acres, and Lake Crago is 119 acres. So it's right there with our big community parks.
Good, awesome, thank you.
All right, now, just for clarity purposes, we're voting this is a good discussion, and I'm going to open up discussion for this, for the community as well. We're voting to approve the committee report. We broaden it to include the 2 points certainly underneath it. So we do a voice vote on the committee report and then the 2 individual following. So for the committee report, or any comments from the audience before we do a voice vote on this? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Thank you, so that passes. So now we're looking at item 1, the lease agreement with Skyway Leasing. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Discussion by commissioners? Any discussion by the audience? Seeing no comments or other items of questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Unanimously passes. And item 2, which is this park and a historic moment, is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion by commissioners? Additionally? Any from the audience? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Unanimously passes, and that's an exciting day. Thank you for your great work in making that happen. That brings us to the approval of consent agenda, which includes the minutes and the other asterisk items that we discussed on Friday. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion approved in a second. All those, any questions by the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Also unanimously passes. That we now cease to meet as a commission and reconvene as an equalization board. Item 2A.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have one assessment to consider this morning, a demolition special assessment lien against 5063 Foxcliff Drive. The city charter requires that the city commission convene as an equalization board prior to imposing a special assessment lien against private property. So this is the time for the city commission to consider any questions or objections from the property owners that are potentially subject to these assessments. Once again, the one assessment up for consideration this morning is 5063 Foxcliff Drive.
And is there a representative of the property here this morning? All right, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
And a second. Discussion by commissioners? Any discussion by the audience? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Unanimously passes. We cease meeting as an equalization hearing, come back as a commission, and we will go to public hearings 3A1. City Attorney Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first ordinance for consideration of adoption this morning is proposed ordinance number 21-032, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Lakeland, Florida, relating to the City of Lakeland Affordable Housing Incentive Plan, making findings, amending incentive target areas under the plan, providing for administrative review of incentive applications, repealing previous ordinances, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
Motion to approve?
Second.
And a second. Discussion by commissioners. We had quite a bit on this on Friday, just talking about the areas and defined in application. So if there are any questions by the public about that, you could watch the agenda study for some of that content. Are there any comments by the audience? Seeing none, this is a roll call. Commissioner Walker?
Aye.
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 Aye. Yes.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimously passes.
Next is proposed ordinance number 21-035, an ordinance relating to zoning, making findings, approving a conditional use to construct a 180-foot high ground-mounted personal wireless services facility, which is a cell tower on approximately 24.07 acres located east of Lakeland Highlands Road and north of State Road 570, the Polk Park Road, finding conformity with the comprehensive plan, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Who made the motion? I'm sorry. Okay, Commissioner Walker. Discussion by commissioners? Commissioner Music.
I just have one question. So when it says that it's being constructed on 24.07 acres, that's a big parcel over there. Are they saying that this tower is on all of that property, or it's just part? I mean, obviously the tower's not on 24 acres, but is that 24 acres dedicated to that tower, or is it also being utilized by other things?
Good morning, Teresa Mayo with Community and Economic Development. Yes, that entire 24 acres will be for the sole use of the tower operator. But obviously the enclosure where the tower will be and any equipment won't take up that entire space. But right, they will have access and use of that entire parcel.
Thank you.
While you're there, could you also describe the appearance of the tower, the monopole?
Yes, so this is what's called a unipole, meaning that all of the antenna are placed inside the tower structure itself, so there won't be any antenna that are visible.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you, ma'am. Any questions by the audience or comments? Seeing none, this is a roll call. Commissioner McLeod.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimously passes.
Next is proposed ordinance number 21-036, an ordinance relating to zoning, making findings, amending ordinance 3839 as amended to provide for a modification to PUD zoning for Parkway Preserve to allow driveway access on Airport Road for property located south of Carolyn Boulevard and west of Airport Road, finding conformity with the comprehensive plan, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve in a second. Discussion by commissioners. Commissioner Reed.
Thank you, Mayor. I see we have our developer and our attorney representing them. They're doing one thing that I've gotten some emails with. I went out and looked at the property again, and I think it's firstly imperative that we have the access from Airport Road as well as a deceleration and access road for the turn lane going on to the Airport Road via Trillium Boulevard. And I would very much like to see that happen. I'm not gonna make a motion yet, but I would like to hear what our developer has to say. I know it's gonna have an expense, but invariably, I think there's gonna be a lot of traffic coming in and out of that property. Both ways, it's gonna be stacked up, and I think it's gonna be a lot better quality development if we have two access points, and particularly a right turn out at the lighted intersection. And I think that's one of the reasons that I wanted to make.
Thank you, Commissioner Reed. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, good morning. For purposes of your record, my name is Tim Campbell, Clark Campbell, Lancaster, and Munson, attorneys at law, 500 South Florida Avenue. Here with me today is Mr. Beck Daniel with MatCon, the developer in the issue. Mr. Reed, you raised a good comment. Unfortunately, we looked at the same thing. The good thing is with the split of traffic between the two entrances, one on Carolyn Boulevard and one on Airport Road, that reduces the number of trips that are on either of them. If we were just doing the Carolyn Boulevard access, we went forward pursuant to the expectations and requests of your staff, and we needed to do it too, to do traffic studies to determine if Carolyn Boulevard with the turn lanes would be sufficient, and they clearly are. And so whatever thoughts that people had that it may not be sufficient, the studies prove that it is sufficient. Your staff has reviewed those and are comfortable with that. I will report to you, though, as a follow-up to my comments as part of your agenda study, is that I now hold a signed letter agreement with the association. So I told you we were close, and I told you the one remaining issue. And what we did is we worked with the association to say we will give due diligence to also do the Airport Road access unless it is not economically feasible. And the only reason we do not know what FDOT will require, they've said we can do that access. We don't know what all that entails. And out of a discussion with the association, we even agreed that furthermore, if we deem it not to be economically feasible because of some condition required by FDOT, that we will actually sit down with the association and discuss that and allow them the opportunity to participate, because they asked for that opportunity. You know, should it be so expensive that it doesn't make sense for you to do it for your development? We'd like to have that discussion because we may or may not be willing to participate to have that additional access as an emergency access for the entire development and just for that additional access for Parkway Preserve. So we've given that a lot of attention, both through traffic engineers and studies and through your staff and through DOT. And we're excited to say that we really did, Beck and his team really did work hard, and the members of the association team worked hard, and everybody was very reasonable and understanding of the needs and of each other, and we're very pleased to have reached an agreement so that we can move forward, and Parkway Preserve can be a very nice part of the Carillon Boulevard, the Carillon development. And
I think, there again, I'm not sure, I guess there's some people here from Trillion Lakes, I presume, I don't know, but like I say, I got some emails, and I understand that the association's willing to dedicate some land that you could do a right in and right out. I mean, just a right out turn on Airport Road through their boulevard. Is that a fair statement?
that is not. That's not, they do not own any property where we would have access
Okay, so
onto
you'd have to
Airport
buy
Road.
some, or that's just part of the piece that you're already buying?
The access that we would have to Airport Road is on the parcel we are purchasing.
Okay.
Look at the picture above. So
you can see it on the bottom right corner of that exhibit. You can see where the access would be to Airport Road.
within their property.
Right.
Within the property we're
I do have a
purchasing.
problem though with, I would like to see something there to again, I don't know if prohibit, so I don't know if we can prohibit them from going out that road. I know you can't, but invariably that light's going to become crowded with, I think with traffic on Airport Road. We know the industrial park's going to the north. We'll have a lot more traffic coming in, and I think you're going to see a obstacle on the coming out at the light for in other spots. So they can't get out the one road. They're going to come to the people to the light are going to come to the light where they can get out.
Right.
And you haven't convinced me yet that I'm going to vote for this without a turn to the right from the Trillium Boulevard.
There is a turn to the right on Carolina Boulevard.
With a stacking lane of some sort.
There is. The exhibit that they've shown is one of two alternatives.
Yeah, do the other alternative because that has the lane in it.
And now that we have the agreement with the association whereby they will grant us the right to construct improvements within the easement that we already have, we are going to do the Carillon Boulevard improvements.
So for clarity purposes, just understand the intent. You would agree with Commissioner Reed, and saying both would provide a right turnout lane at the southern point, provided FDOT approves, as well as a turn lane in the existing Carolyn Lakes Boulevard. Correct?
Well, there are two. There's a. If you can
go back, just to walk through it.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
So do we have a red pointer we can use? Yeah, there you go.
Okay. So here's Airport Road coming into Carillon Boulevard. And this is a proposed improvement, a new left-hand turn lane into the Parkway Preserve development. And as we've discussed before, but for the benefit of those who are listening, the developer also changed the plan to back this building farther away from Carillon Boulevard and to move the clubhouse further to the interior to remove as much activity or intensity along the Carillon Boulevard frontage. So there's the left-hand turn into.
Perfect. Good.
Here's a right-hand turn lane that'll be constructed leaving onto Airport Road. And I'll tell you, there's some confusion because people kind of do this a little now, but there's really only one official lane.
Right.
And so this one's going to be constructed according to code and would be a right turn exiting lane onto Airport Road.
And Commissioner Reed, you were after that, correct?
Yes, will you be able to stack, how many cars do you think you'll be able to stack on that side?
We've agreed with the association that it'll be kind of determined as we go through the permitting with the city because they have criteria and requirements that relates to that.
One of the conditions I know when I was on the planning commission for county, the one thing that we cannot consider is expense. You know, if you're going to make $1 million and lose $1 million, we can't consider that.
You're right, but fortunately, you have adopted codes in place. You have city staff who have reviewed all of this. You have FDOT staff who have reviewed all this. You have a planning and zoning board who has reviewed all this, and all of those have approved what you have seen. And the association has signed and agreed as to the exact layout that you see before you. So I understand your concern, but we have addressed all these things time and time again, and I'd respectfully suggest that your codes and your staff and DOT staff have considered it thoroughly, and that this result is a very good and appropriate result from a transportation standpoint, and given consideration to the residents of Carillon Lakes, as well as the property rights of this development.
It does appear that it's just not going to be one lane. You have to either go straight or wait. You are going to have a second lane that people can take a right. That's a fair statement.
Correct, that's right.
Yes, you mean that lane right there
Yes,
that we're constructing?
that'll be a full lane, and people can get over there and make a right turn.
Right.
Correct. That's what we are constructing, yes, sir.
So, which I think conforms with your interests. All I'm trying to do is make certain that's the.
Because we talked about on Friday, right in on the second entrance, that's going to be the primary, would be coming in from the north. There'd be a secondary, people live down the south. They could come in or go out on the bottom, on the southernmost exit. But on the northernmost exit, I want to make sure that there is a lane you could stack and not have just be, if there's one lane going out, to go straight across the parkway, but there's a second lane that you can go to the right without interfering with people waiting to go straight. So they just don't, if somebody wants to take a right, they're not waiting there forever because one guy wants to go straight and 20 people behind him want to go right.
The good thing is that the plans reflect exactly what you want. So I think you're getting exactly what
Think it'll be 6 cars, 7 cars, you got any idea?
There was a range. What was the outbound range?
5+. I think it's 6+, 5 or 6+.
It's a right in, right out anyway, so you can turn without a signal. I agree. Okay. I think you've satisfied me then.
Commissioner Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I'm at a point where, because of what we had asked as a commission, to have both the Carillon Lakes homeowners as well as the developer to come together and have some reason to make sure where we sat through a long evening of having to have some give and take and be able to come to have some commonality. And how can two walk except they agree? I'm thankful for the agreement that we've seen have come. Now, it may not please everybody. And I'll say it again, it may not please everybody. But at least they came together and reasoned, I would think, in some respect, if you got a signed document, to say what's we want to give and take and what can be best support this particular development situation. So, and I agree with you, Commissioner Reed. I want to make sure that, flow of traffic can be done very well, and I would hope, as I call our transportation guru, Mr. Barnaby, and that staff that takes care of those things for us as a city, along with the parties, have looked at that kind of situation to make sure it flows as we have it to do. Because I can think about pockets in my neighborhood where we ain't got a right turn, and we have to wait 10, 12 cars sometime. I'm serious now, y'all. But at least they come together and have had some conversation, have reason to make sure they can support what may be best for the development. So that's where I believe that we have done. We asked for that, and I believe it has come.
Commissioner McLeod.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioner Walker, for those comments. And Tim, just for clarification on next steps in the process, because you have the assigned agreement, if this passes, the airport road entrance and exit is no longer, it's no longer an option B, because you have the agreement with the homeowners association for Carillon Boulevard. You will pursue it as a additional option given the economic feasibility, and even if that's not there for the developer, you want to work with the homeowners association to see if you can make that work. Is that correct?
It is, except you said, we'll see if we can work with them, but we have obligated ourselves to work with them and give them that opportunity should we deem it not economically feasible.
Okay.
And quite frankly, so one of the requirements that's normal is there'll be a deceleration lane coming into this. But there's some other things that DOT has talked about in the city. There are some deficiencies in the northbound left turn lane into Caroline Boulevard that is not the making of MatCon, nor is it the making of the residents of Caroline Lakes. And so we do not know yet what that exact requirement will be and what the expense will be. We understand that there will be some requirement that we extend that. And I think that in our discussions with the association, they understand that. And so we've committed to, if we go, obviously for Parkway Preserve, having both entrances is an advantage also. And so we seek to do that. And we've committed with the association to continue to work with them. And we very much appreciate, from Commissioner Walker's comments, we very much appreciate the willingness of the association representatives to sit down and have a good understanding. And you're right, everybody's doesn't get everything they want, but we each gave, and we think we ended up with a better product.
Thank you.
Commissioner Madden.
Thank you. So I'm just curious, and this, might not be germane to this topic, but it seems in my head that if the grassy area to the north is going to be developed, does that have access to Caroline Boulevard?
It is my understanding that they do not. You mean north of the boulevard?
Yes.
It is my understanding that they do not have easement rights.
Further complicate this issue. That will have its own apron and entrance. All right.
Great.
I just want to make sure because that would
Good question.
obviously add some more traffic in the future.
Sir, I sense you have something you'd like to share.
Well, I'm here for the association. James Adams,
Yeah, maybe-
local office of Pilka, Adams, and Reed, and we did make the agreement over the weekend. Mostly it was Dan Pilka, but we have signed that document. Our concern from the beginning was just that in that southwest corner, that currently there's nothing there, and we just wanted to be sure there was ingress and egress and alteration of the current ingress, which is the original one on, not on Airport, but on Caroline Boulevard, which that's by necessity is going to have to be enlarged a little bit, and the lanes are going to be some for the association and some for not association. This is all covered in the agreement. I mean, this is not an adversarial position here between the two of us. So for what it's worth, we have signed off on that, subject to whatever DOT says with the southeast corner exit.
Commissioner McCarley and then Commissioner Reed.
So do either one of you have anything in writing from DOT yet? Or are you still on hold about what DOT will approve? I know you've had discussions, but does it look promising to have that?
It does. They have said that they will allow that access.
Okay.
And then they say, okay, now submit plans for us to review and approve. And that's where, the proof is in the pudding and you see what their conditions and requirements are. So we're comfortable that they're going to allow it. And we as a developer, they need to get through this before they start going and doing engineering plans on the access points. And so we just haven't submitted those yet. But yes, we're very comfortable DOT is going to allow that access into Parkway Preserve.
And that's one of the concessions that the residents of Caroline Lakes were asking for, that second entrance and exit. Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm sorry I didn't catch your name again.
It's James Adams, Pilka, Adams, and Reed is the
I
law
want to
firm.
reaffirm, so your association's happy with the agreement as it sits?
Repeat that?
You're content with the agreement that you have signed?
We are.
That's all I needed to know.
All right, I have a comment. I want to thank Caroline Lakes and for the work that's been done on this process. And I want to thank MatCon because I think you made that possible. This is an example of what happens when we have a developer that will sit back and say, okay, we can flex in this if we work together, and a neighborhood that recognizes something is going to go there and we want it to end up being the best possible product that we can to provide enhanced property values for you on a long-term basis. And I know, rewinding back to that night, it may have seemed as if this commission wasn't concerned about the preservation and enhancements of your property values, when in fact, I think it's our greatest concern as we consider how to use this land well for something that can enhance that, as opposed to a strip center or some other far less valuable entity that could have been put there. So MatCon, thank you for that, and for Matt, for your, I'm sorry, I've forgotten your name again. Beck, for your leadership in that, Beck, because it's made a huge difference for us, and it's very important to the commission, it's very important to Caroline Lakes, and it's important to you economically to be able to have a product that you can develop. And so we keep doing this kind of thing together. This is an absolute perfect picture of what should happen as we work together to grind the sausage, and so I'm just grateful for that. I just want to go on record.
Kudos, I mean, ditto to all of that. I mean, this is the best case scenario that a city would work together with neighbors and developers, because we are growing and we want the best possible neighborhoods in our city. Absolutely. Those folks who get to, you know, live in those apartments surrounded by the preserves in that area that's building out with a lot of industrial and near the airport. To me, I think I'm so excited to even see the extra lake view around the Caroline Boulevard and the movement back of the buildings. I mean, working together is always the key, and these days it's so little seen. So thank you so much for working together to make this possible.
All right, so this is a roll call, and that's Commissioner Walker.
And just before you get into that, I know things are sounding like they're going smoothly, but I don't think we officially opened it up to the public.
We had some public comments. Are there any additional public comments? And yes, ma'am, come forward, and then you can follow her. I apologize, and thank you for that, sir.
Thank you. I have two speeches. One, if there was no agreement, and one, if there was an agreement. Just so you'll know, I was amply prepared. Donna Willett, 3380 Fiddle Leaf Way.
Thank you, Donna.
Mayor Mutz and commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to speak. This is my agreement was made. As a resident of Caroline Lakes, I commend the agreement that has been reached between our POA and MatCon. It is certainly welcomed that we will no longer have the necessity to have negotiations take place. Congratulations to MatCon for their revised apartment layout. It is certainly more appealing to those of us in Caroline Lakes, and we appreciate that our concerns were listened to and were apparently heard. We also feel good about the traffic concerns being addressed in the recent agreement. MatCon has received many accolades already. Now I'm going to piggyback off what the mayor said. I would like to take a different view, though, and congratulate the Caroline Lakes community. As a community, we band together to assert our voices into the discussion of the development of Parkway Preserve. Volunteers rallied the community in a united effort to prevent 300 apartments. Although it was unsuccessful, we certainly launched a valiant endeavor. Our energy then switched to dealing with the ramifications of Parkway Preserve. Unpaid resident volunteers put in countless hours to assist our POA board in defining challenges presented by 300 apartments at our front door. And let me remind you, this is a private driveway, our road is. Members of the POA explained progress, listened to the community, and dealt with all aspects of our entire process while holding down full-time jobs. Without input from the Caroline Lakes community, Parkway Preserve would probably look quite different. Although we continue to have concerns, we recognize that these 300 apartments will be built whether we like it or not. As we enter into the next phase of this development, we hope that Parkway Preserve and the Caroline community will coexist as peaceful neighbors. I hope once the apartments are at full capacity, you, the commissioners, and you, Honorable Mayor, will honor us by visiting to see how things have turned out. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. We appreciate that very much. I almost did too, Beck.
Hello. Jackie Micah, 3036 Bellflower Way. I am a resident of Carolyn Lakes, but I am also on the board of directors. And yes, we worked really hard to get that agreement. I was the one that actually found out that Exhibit B did not have that document and spoke Saturday morning with Devin, and we got that kind of updated. The one thing that I did want to talk about is in our last board of directors meeting, we did go through and we talked about the MATCOM. And as a board, as you all know, as being commissioners, we actually do have to vote on this. And so that is some of the time that it's taken in getting some of this stuff done, is we do have to have votes. Matter of fact, that agreement actually has to be ratified at our next board of directors meeting. But at our last board of directors meeting, and these are draft minutes, we did actually approve the addition of the left turn lane into Parkway Preserve from Carolyn Boulevard, with MATCOM paying all costs associated with the construction of the lane addition. We also did the approval of the addition of the right turn lane onto Airport Road from Carolyn Boulevard with MATCOM paying all the costs associated with the construction of the lane addition. The board of directors encourages MATCOM to pursue a fully functional right turn in and right turn lane from Parkway Preserve onto Airport Road. And so we definitely really want to see that Airport Road right turn in and out. We understand that, you know, the improvements to Carolyn Boulevard, but I will tell you, Carolyn Boulevard sometimes in the morning, that stacks up, and yes, there'll be an additional lane, but it's going to keep stacking up. So any traffic we can offload into that Airport Road in and out would be highly desirable by the community.
Right.
Okay. The other thing that I just want to say as a board member is just remember, I know everyone's talking about this is a great addition of all these homes, but we will have additional costs. We have to improve our security because of this being right by our entrance. If the Airport Road addition, they're right in and out, if MATCOM says it's cost prohibitive, we may have to come up with funds, and that is paid by the homeowners. It does come out of our fees, and so I do just remind you all that this could impact us as homeowners. Thank you.
Thank you. Good job. Any others? Again, really thank you for that, and thank you for the leadership in making that happen. So are we ready for a vote? So Commissioner Walker?
Aye.
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 Yes.
Aye. Unanimously passes. Thank you very much. Thank you for your work.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, commissioners, and to all who've been involved in making this happen.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right, item 4, sir.
Item 4 is proposed ordinance number 21-037, an ordinance of the City of Lakeland, Florida related to non-motorized vehicles for hire, amending the Code of the City of Lakeland, Florida by creating Article 5 of Chapter 106 titled Non-Motorized Vehicles for Hire, setting forth purpose and intent, providing definitions, permitting the operation of non-motorized vehicles for hire on designated streets within the City of Lakeland, establishing regulations, standards, and permit requirements for non-motorized vehicles for hire and the drivers thereof, providing for penalties and enforcement, providing for the repeal of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right. Discussion. Who made the motion? Okay, thank you, Commissioner Walker. Discussion by commissioners. Commissioner Reed and then Commissioner Mann.
Maybe I'm the only one talking today, I don't know. I had some concerns, and there again, Julie has helped me lean toward just more than I was. There again, my biggest, just some comments, not necessarily issues, but there again, I think, is this going to be a year-to-year deal, or is it perpetual? Invariably, you know, the component that's going to be most critical is actually the driver of the cart. If they're the ones that let them break the rules, per se, they can lose their license to operate these carts and are fined or something like that. Because I know that our police will be policing the open container component of it, stuff like that. But is this a year-to-year deal, or can it be broken if we find that there's multiple violations, or what are the ramifications of
punitive? Right. Both the licensing of the non-motorized vehicles themselves, as well as the driver permits that are issued to the drivers of these vehicles, are a year-to-year thing. So there's potential for them to not be renewed after a year, and even prior to a year, if there are more than 2 violations within the year, the administrator of the program, which is planning to be LPD, the ordinance provides that they can take action against either the vehicle's license or the driver's permit with the suspension of up to 1 year and ultimately a revocation.
Thank you. I look forward to this. I think it'll be a great addition to the city. I just had some questions I had to resolve.
All right, Commissioner McLeod.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to invite, I see representatives from Swan Petal, is that correct? Yes, I wanted to invite them to share a few words and maybe comment on, as Julie Townsend was talking about the importance of procedures and your own policies with your drivers, and just, to comment on that a little bit.
Well, go ahead. Good morning. Thanks so much for having us. We're really excited to be here today. Thank you, Homer Davis, so much for the time that you've spent with us, and we are really excited. But as it comes for our driver and our employees that we will have, we will be sure to make sure we always work with the Lakeland Police Department along with our employer driver to make sure we hire quality drivers, and we will always make sure we are very involved and stay on top of what happens on our bike. We'll never allow, issues. We'll try to eliminate any issue if anything does come up.
We have rules built in. So with our liability agreement, if it's, let's just say a passenger does come on, they have paid for the tour. However, they have already signed something stating, they've seen our rules. If they break them, they are automatically kicked off, and they do have to pay a fee. So our driver does have to enforce that. So we have our driver protected because yes, he does have to enforce the rules, but there's also a penalty for the person paying for the tour as well.
And also, if our driver breaks the rules, also, they would, we would terminate the driver for breaking our rules as well.
There was a question on Friday. Could, while it's parked, I invite my friends over to sit on it with me if I'm one of them? And we answered no, but just wanted to make sure that was.
Yes, sir, that's correct. No one is allowed who hasn't paid for it and has not signed a liability waiver is allowed to get on.
And that's one of the things I would like to bring up when it comes to our rates and display on our ordinance. I don't know if this is something that can be adjusted or not, but like Leslie said, we will never allow anybody onto our bike without having pre-booked, prepaid, and have a waiver signed. So on our ordinance, it's saying that we do need to display our rates on it. We kind of have, fear for that people will look at it and think that they're able to just come up to our bike and expect to, hey, I can give our driver the amount of the ticket and we can just hop on.
We look like a taxi service rather than a paid-for tour.
Yes. So we're hoping to have that removed from our ordinance, the display of cost of our tickets, because they do have to go online in advance, pre-book, prepay, and have a waiver signed. No one will ever be allowed on our bike without having done that.
Mr. Davis, could that be that is available on a sheet as opposed to posted on?
That's certainly an option. One thing to keep in mind, I don't think we have a strong feeling about that one way or the other, but these regulations are designed for non-motorized vehicles for hire in general, not just Swan Petal, so they would have broader application.
Right.
So perhaps if it provided for or, as an or with it. I'm not on that particular clause. Commissioner Madden.
Thank you, Mayor. So, one of my big things is I love small businesses, and I hope that Lakeland is like an entrepreneurial ecosystem where we are customer friendly, excited to pair and walk alongside new business ideas. So I don't want to be the one that's talking about the regulations and the fees and the risk, because there is risk associated with every business idea. And there's risk waking up in the morning and getting out of the bed and walking to your car. Everything we do has risk. And so I don't want to hear about the risks and the prices and the penalties. I want to hear how you came up with this idea and what you're excited about.
Well, we got this idea from a ride over in Savannah, Georgia. We did a pedal pub ride when we were there last October, and we shared it with others that we have never met before. There were 6 of us, and we had just the best time. We had so much fun. We left, and on our way home, we all said, let's do it. Let's try to bring this to Lakeland. So since then, we've gone on other pedal rides to see, okay, was it just that one time that was fun, or do we have fun other times? And we've had to have fun every time. And so we said we want to bring this to our community in hopes that other people have a good time.
Well, I wish you all the best, and it is a lot of time and investment, and if it improves our community, then y'all will, be a great success. And so I'm just thrilled that you came back with this idea from another city, and hopefully it'll be everything that you hoped it is.
Thank you.
Commissioner Music.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I've never been on one, but I was in San Diego this summer and we were parked beside it and they were having a blast. So I imagine that our local residents will do the same. So
And I
good
think
luck.
what's really exciting for us too is in the other cities, most of them are just pub rides. And I think with Lakeland, we have a lot of history, a lot of breakfast and coffee shops. And so that's one of the things that we do want to include also is more than just a nighttime ride. We would like to do the breakfast and the history and stuff. So we're
Good luck. It's gonna be awesome.
thank you.
Well, and there's very, very conscientious owners in this on this team, in terms of it being far more. This would be my subjective opinion, but far more about experience than it is about alcohol. And so that to me is significant because it isn't a drunken cart on which to ride. It's a place to be able to really enjoy the opportunity in a controlled environment where open containers aren't violated going in and out and crossing because they have the same interests at heart. So it is a way to make our downtown more fun, and the more you make your downtown fun, the more fun the downtown becomes, the more people want to live downtown. It is everything right, and they're all pieces. It's not just one thing or another of the elements that make that happen. So it's very exciting.
One complication to this, subsequent to agenda study on Friday, Chuck Barnaby heard from the FDOT about the crossings at Florida Avenue. And it sounded like they may require a traffic study of some sort before they approve that. And they've also indicated some complications or difficulties with even the squeeze crossing Florida Avenue at Orange Street if they haven't already denied that. So there's still some work to be done as far as crossing Florida Avenue. That's not necessarily an issue for today because the ordinance designates that the responsibility for establishing the routes to LPD, so they will do that administratively, but that's a hurdle that's going to have to be overcome.
We'll figure it out.
Mr. Mayor, real quick, could they?
Yes.
Could they, just because they didn't when they got out there, could they just state their name and tell us so that when we're out there, everybody can know who you are?
I'm Paige Knatzer.
And I'm Leslie Raisin.
And we do have another business partner, Stephanie Lewis, and she's not able to be with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And that's certainly something we'd pursue. It's not an inappropriate response from FDOT anyway, initially on something that we would get like that. That's going to be important for us on the squeeze basis.
Well, and thank you for bringing that up, City Attorney Davis, because I had mentioned that to our attorney a couple weeks ago when we were first hearing. We know with the squeeze, which is going to be our electric golf cart that's going to do a loop, that we had to have approval from DOT, and we've been waiting to hear back on that. So if we can collectively, do that together and kind of align resources and have the same crossovers, that might be really good.
Those 30 spots, I think.
Yeah.
That's right. By the way, these carts have an electric assist on them in the event that there's.
But don't tell anybody.
Yeah, but
Thank God.
you want to make them work while they're on it,
Exactly.
Okay.
It's their secret.
All right. Anything else? Any other question by commissioners? Any question by the audience on this at all? All right. This is a roll call vote. Commissioner McLeod?
Aye. Yes.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. It unanimously passes. You've waited a long time to hear that. Thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you all so much. Come right in.
Great job. All right, that is the end. Now we will go to B, ordinances first reading, item 1.
And these ordinances both require public hearings at first reading, so these will both need to be opened up for public comment today, and there will
All right,
be
sir.
a second public hearing on them on October 4th. The first is proposed ordinance number 21-040, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Lakeland, Florida relating to community development districts, repealing ordinance 5758, dissolving the Hawthorne Mill North Community Development District, providing an effective date. And so we don't need a motion or anything like that today to approve, just needs to be open.
Any questions by commissioners? Commissioner Reed.
I'll wait till we're going to do both of them at the same time, because if we dissolve one.
There's no vote today on this.
No vote today.
It's just discussion.
Okay, but I do have some discussion.
Yes, go ahead.
There again, can I have Teresa come up to the, our I thought we had some very good dialogue on Friday, and of course, you know, this is just the first part of a larger piece of property. There's a total of almost 500 acres there. We're dealing with 289 acres. And of course, there again, with all the development going on in that area, and I think at one point, if I'm correct, the school board was offered a site there and they refused it. Is that a fair statement?
That is correct, Commissioner, yes.
There again, I think they're short-sighted, grossly short-sighted in my opinion. And in order to approve this, I would like to see a set-aside, maybe let's say 4 years or seven years, something like that, or 10 to 7. And I would actually be willing, if it was put up on the Medela Pipkin Road area, that if it was a 10, 12 acre piece, whatever an elementary, middle school might be, I don't think it's going to be a high school site. Invariably, they're going to need to acquire that because they're normally about 90 acres. There again, I would even be at the end of 7 years, if the school board doesn't build a school there, maybe it could go commercial. Even though I would like to see, as I mentioned the other day, in our developments on the coast and other areas that I'm dealing with, they're doing these big 1,500 2-acre developments, and they're doing all the commercial in the middle. There's houses all around it, and they've got a commercial node without stacking all the commercial right on our main thoroughfares, being Pipkin Road. It's like a town center, similar to what we have there, but it's in a big 3,000 or 4,000 residential units, so you don't impede our traffic in areas. But I would like you to talk to them or something in the future to see if we could, there again, I don't want them, because invariably they say, we're going to do this one, then they're going to sell the other part to somebody else, and we don't get it done there. Because this, I'm not sure who's buying the first component, who's going to buy the second component, but I can only deal with what we're dealing with now. I don't want to anticipate stuck the guy in the back with having to put a set aside that way. And we're going to know what we're dealing with today. It may be years from the other part developed. It may be tomorrow they come in. But I would like to see, get with the school board or the developer and do a set aside of whatever a normal middle elementary school would be. Or if they want to do a little bit larger, there again with the caveat that in the future, if the school board doesn't do it, it might be a commercial node or something like that.
Commissioner, there's the action that you're taking today is to establish the district for purposes of financing the infrastructure, or the action you will be taking, sorry, the second reading, would be just for the financing component of this. In terms of entitlements, that's already been determined through the zoning, which is planned unit development. So the current zoning does not provide for that parcel for a public school site because that was taken out of the PUD some years ago through a modification. The only educational facility that was contemplated in the zoning was a private charter school, and that was up in this corner of the property here. But the way the PUD was written, it said if that private charter school did not develop, that the developer could place homes in that area, which is what's occurring. So if I go forward here, and I apologize because of the detail of this graphic, it got rotated, but Pipkin is on the right here. So north is that way to the right.
That's Ewell.
Sorry, you're right. This way is Pipkin. And this is where that school site was here. And now it's being developed with homes in this area. And then here's the park site is right here. That was discussed earlier today. So to have them reserve any land, it's not in the PUD today. So it would be something that the developer would have to come forward with and say if they had land available. But as you can see from their master plan, it's pretty much planned out with the full number of units that they are approved for, with all of the supporting infrastructure, stormwater, roadways. So that opportunity has passed since the school district declined the parcel to begin with.
In my estimation, nothing's passed by until we vote for it. And I'm inclined not to vote for it until we get a set aside. It's only my choice, so, but that's, and maybe you talk to the developer and see what he says.
Commissioner Walker.
I want to make sure I'm not misunderstanding, and that's why I'm asking the question. If you presented something to the school board, am I saying this right or wrong? Please help me out. And they chose not to be a part, what more can be done? I'm trying to make sure I can understand that. Because if they've already said no as part of the development that's coming forward, not at this time, or are they saying no? Are they saying no at this time, not at this time, or no, it's not where we're headed?
The school district previously said no to the site, and that's when the developer came in as part of a PUD modification and removed that site from consideration.
But still allow the portion that you just pointed to along Pipkin there for a charter school.
For a private charter school.
Yeah, private charter school if need be. So if what I'm hearing Commissioner Reed is asking, if the school board decides they want to come back sometime in the future and say, yeah, well, I guess we best do this. And I'm trying to make sure that I think forward thinking is good, first of all, but I try to make sure I don't overstep my bound as I'm a city commissioner for the city of Lakeland. I'm not school board. And I don't want to make sure I tell another governmental entity how they should best do what they need to do. Because I don't want to come in and tell me how the best they need to do for me in Lakeland. And I hope you can appreciate that comment, my colleague. But certainly if it's been presented to them and they chose not to be a part, how can we, and I'm wrestling with it in my brain, how can I make sure that I'm voting for something that you want to put in something in which another entity is saying no?
Commissioner McCarley.
I think what I'm understanding from both sides is I understand that we want to stay in our lane.
Yeah.
We oversee Lakeland. I understand Commissioner Reed's point because I concur with it in that he wants to encourage the school district. What happens is in the long run, and I think this is what he sees as with his experience from development, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that we approve these in silos. So we're going to, potentially approve this section and then the next section because they're breaking it apart. They're not doing it all at once. And then we approve a next section. So you're building this puzzle. And so we have concurrency and we have PUDs and we have plannings and planners who say, hey, we would highly recommend, or the school district, frankly, should be setting aside land as they go for all this growth because we know Florida's land is getting more and more expensive and more people are buying it and we have more people coming. So he's saying we should have a dialogue maybe of encouraging that we set land aside or dialogue with the developer to set something for a private or charter. I don't think that's synonymous. I think it might be private or a charter school. And so talking to the developer to see if they would still be interested in that, because what's going to happen is ultimately this commission, probably not the 7 of us, will be faced with, as this growth continues in Southwest Lakeland, that there won't be any land left to have a school site. So I think, is that correct in what you're saying? And do you see what I'm saying in trying to bring that together? That no, it's not on us. It's not our responsibility to tell the school district what to do. However, having a dialogue that discusses the school district's intent and our staff is so good at saying, they declined it. maybe knowing that dialogue and other elected officials or other members of the public who are watching this, understanding that all these puzzle pieces have to fit together ultimately and align to serve the citizens, current citizens of Lakeland and Polk County and the future citizens of Lakeland and Polk County together, that dialogue is really important. Is that what everybody you're saying and that you're saying?
Well,
I know you don't want to get out of your lane. I get that.
And I understand that because as a man of authority, I want to make sure I stay and appreciate authority. But I don't mind dialogue. But if this is going to hinder, what has been asked, then that's where I have a challenge.
Well, and this is just the first reading, so this will come back to you. And so between now and the time that there is the final public hearing, we can certainly reach out to the school district staff, let them know that this is coming forward. I'm sure that they're aware that the first phase is started platting, the plat approval, and we will have that discussion with them about needs in this area and see if there is a need, and then direct them to the developer to have that discussion. So we can do that.
Wait. There certainly is, the school board is certainly aware of the PUDs, correct?
That's correct.
So it's not that's not a silo for them. They see the comprehensive plan, so they've got to figure out where they want to put a school at some point in time.
I agree with that. I think too that the dialogue though is really important because they have 2,200 square miles that they're responsible for, but if they know that we're considering this, then it heightens maybe some awareness as that growth is going to continue to blossom.
Doesn't hurt anything, right? Commissioner Madden.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to my colleagues, because honestly, this is our only leverage. Our power is persuasion, honestly, and if we don't use it at the dais and we're talking about it on the first reading and then again on the second reading, we don't get a better project. Just like we saw with Caroline Lakes, if you use every single opportunity to be the squeaky wheel, I am concerned, along with my colleagues, as someone who, has heard from LEDC and others that folks don't want to move here because of the school situation. And so if we don't even have a school, planned for that area, and we have radical growth, dynamic growth in that area for families that are going to enjoy this beautiful park but have to drive or put on a bus for 2 hours to get them to school, that's not ultimately what that development is. Not going to sell homes. So I think that, certainly we want to stay in our lane, but we also want to use our voices to advocate for families who are going to live in Lakeland to have the best schools possible. And the only way I think we do that is by obstructing a little bit with our voices, at least at these meetings, to say, we really want to have that conversation. Where are they planning to put the school? Because we have, the biggest, I deplore the largesse nature of our school district and wish we had a Lakeland district, honestly, so that we could have more control. But I'm not in charge of that, but I can at least advocate that our residents and our neighbors, hear their, commission saying, what are good neighborhoods without good schools? Nothing. What is our community without access to good schools? And so we want to hear from the school board, what they have planned, for this growth in this area.
If not here, where? Commissioner McLeod. Commissioner McLeod.
I'm not saying that.
Commissioner McLeod. Commissioner McLeod.
I know.
Thank you, Mayor. It's good discussion, and I'm curious though, Teresa, where does the concept of a set aside for a potential school, does that fit into what we're doing on this item, or it sounds like no from what you explained?
It would be a separate action. So theoretically, if there was an agreement reached, if the school board did want a site and the developer offered a site, that would require the zoning going back through a process to allow for the school site.
I think it's a good discussion, but I do think there are challenges. What type of school? Are we talking an elementary school, middle school, high school? And then that's not our, it is not under our purview, but the vision and the long-term planning of the city is, and we see the explosive growth that's happening in Southwest Lakeland. So I like the discussion. I was just trying to figure out where it fits into this item.
Well, just like you do a traffic study.
Commissioner McCarley.
I'm going to go off the school topic for a second.
Okay.
So I drove out there on Friday after our agenda study. Again, I've been out there a few times because of transit questions. I've gone through Riverstone a couple times. So I went out to Riverstone, and then I also sort of looked at this property, and when we talk about that explosive growth, so what my understanding is, you know, that's another potentially 1,300 rooftops that will go in here, maybe in phases, which if you multiply that by 2 for cars is 2,600 cars, and if you do 2.5 people per house, it's 3,250 in people. So when we look at Pipkin and we look at the county, their impact on Pipkin, we're going to have to, when we talk about these aprons like we just did for Carillon Lakes and for that apartment complex, the apron out onto Airport Road, when you start looking at all those aprons, so you have Morgan Creek, and then you have some older neighborhoods that have already been there, and then you have Geico on this north side, and then you're going to have these developments with one entrance and one exit onto Pipkin, and then they'll ultimately connect to Ewell. That is the volume. I know we do trip volumes and everything with Chuck, but I'm really concerned about not only not having a school site out there ultimately, but that thoroughfare that right now people drive, it's like taking your life in your hands to get out of Riverstone and hang a left right now, like in the middle of the day. I can't fathom having traffic stops, and then we're gonna build in more traffic into this. And so it's not just the number of humans, but it's also the number of cars. And it's great to think that if we have this new park, or when we have this new park, ultimately that's going to be connected. But we're developing these single units or these single neighborhoods that have no connectivity to one another except Pipkin or Ewell.
Actually, there is
that internal connection is what I see that potentially down the road. But if you look at, if you think about the Carillon Lakes and their own POA, and they don't have connectivity to other places, and so then you go into that private drive of Carillon Lakes, and then we start looking at this, and as more and more land sells, I'm just getting a little overwhelmed as a commissioner at continuing to approve these huge plan developments, which I know we need, but we're trying to think of the 35-year plan or 50-year plan of how these are going to be connected, how they can access simply and be internal to that park system, and maybe have trails. And I know we're encouraging the developers to do that. And we also mandate that the developers have amenities on all these properties. Carillon Lakes has 3 playgrounds within it. Not Carillon Lakes, Riverstone has 3 different playgrounds already. They have all their mailboxes are out by their pools and by their community centers. It's just, and then we're buying parkland. So it's like, I want it all to work together. And I know we can't answer that question, but I'm very concerned about the volume.
And
hi, Chuck.
Good morning, everybody. For the record, Chuck Barnby, Community Economic Development Department. And you've hit on exactly one of the big issues that's addressed in our comprehensive plan, and how through the development review process, we tie all of this growth together, and particularly in Southwest Lakeland. And so really going back for 20 years with Town Park, and then as it evolved into Riverstone when it was a tomato farm, the Madonia property. And then with this site, we've required interconnectivity because of the number of units we've been talking about, and it's varied over the years. But right now, with in the 100 acres around the park site that was approved for purchase today, we've got almost 4,000 homes immediately abutting that property. And so through each of the individual zoning ordinances that have been approved for those sites, we've required that interconnectivity, not just with roads, but also with trails, to avoid that exact issue. Because Pipkin Road, it's been built for 20 years now, and it's still, not a lot of traffic on it, but it is changing very rapidly. And so what we want to do, through a combination of interconnectivity, access management, and also providing access, frankly, down to Ewell Road, is to try to disperse that traffic as much as possible. And so, with the retail center at County Line, future retail centers at Yates, maybe something at Medalla, is to try to start to provide for those shorter trips. With the employment across the street, with Geico, with future business park uses on the north side of Pipkin Road, as this area evolves, we're going to have the opportunity to shorten those trips beyond what's out there today. Because if you want to do something other than go to Publix, it's a 5 or 6 mile drive. And so this is something that the comprehensive plan over the years and implementing it has really gotten us to where we are, where the carrying capacity of that land is a lot more than what it otherwise would be. And so I know there's been a lot of work on the utility side, the transportation side. Schools is the next issue, but that is a very big concern of certainly city staff and county staff, because all these roads out here, Pipkin, Ewell, County Line, are all owned by Polk County as well. So we've been working very closely with them.
I would just encourage everyone to go drive around it, because two-dimensional on a map or just one-dimensional where you're just looking at it like this. And it's like seeing elevations on a rendering until you go stand by the elevation. You don't really understand the perspective of it because you can look at it, on paper. And that's what I think happens to us sometimes as commissioners. We're presented so many things in one dimension. So it's very imperative that we go and sort of trek through it and look at it in real time and in reality of what it really looks like. Because I think for me, after riding to Riverstone probably 2 months ago, I was just blown away at the number of rooftops there that are finished.
And just to, kind of as a coming attraction, we're negotiating right now on, with the developer of Hawthorne Mill on a development agreement. So the transportation conditions like were established for Riverstone and for Town Park, we will have something similar for Hawthorne Mill. So there will be a transportation agreement that will be forthcoming in the next couple of months.
Thank you.
Anything else, Commissioner Reed?
Thank you. Chuck, you may know, on Yates Road, is that Wendell Watson? Is that elementary or middle school?
Wagner Elementary. And there's some additional land that the school district has purchased around Wagner Elementary in support of either an expansion of the elementary school or a future.
That's just where the school is now, right behind the 7-Eleven, right?
That is the BP at Yates and Pipkin, just to the south.
I'm gonna turn south on Yates, since it's on the left-hand side.
Correct, yes, sir.
That's Wendell Watson Elementary?
Wagner Elementary.
Wagner Elementary, okay. There again, the nearest middle school is Southwest or Mulberry. And they're getting, I would like to have the school board come here next meeting and tell me they don't need a site. If they'll do that, then I'll be more than happy to bless it. They've got 40 acres down the road they bought, and I was going to ask when they turned the site down. I don't know if it's 5 years ago, 2 years ago, 3 days ago, or 20 years ago. But they did buy 40 acres to the southwest down closer to Old 37, and they've deemed that poor access and unusable. So they got surplus land there they paid $8 million for, they're doing nothing with. I don't want to talk about their real estate.
Right, so Commissioner Reed, could we at least agree to have our Planning and Development Department meet with them, contact
I
them?
would like them to come and tell me they don't need a site in this area in the future for a middle school or an elementary. I don't think they're going to need an elementary school, but I think it would be a middle school. And they should have a high school, but they're going to have to pay for the 90 acres if they're going to buy it. They should buy it now, in my opinion, but that's irrelevant because there's going to be, just like Pam said, there's going to be 5,000 homes in this immediate area, and they'll be driving to Lakeland High School, Kathleen, or Mulberry.
We'll reach out to them. I can guarantee that we'll have an answer for you. I can't guarantee that I can force someone from the school district staff to attend the meeting, but we will convey the message to them.
And I'm sorry, again, the buck stops here. If I don't want that development to go forward without a south side, I have the opportunity to say no, and we have the opportunity to say no. This is our last chance. Next meeting will be our last chance to say so.
Commissioner Music.
I was going to say that it should be easy enough for us to get some documentation as to when and why that they did, say that they didn't want it, right? I mean, even if we can't get somebody to the meeting, for them to be able to say, no, we don't want it is, and you and I have had these discussions about their surplus property and some of the other stuff. So whether or not we think that they're making a good decision or not, I mean, ultimately, that isn't our lane. I mean, they should be able to read all of the things that we're doing. That's their job. Their job is to be forward thinking and to look and see where the growth is coming and where they're doing that. And hopefully they're doing a good job. And I appreciate that it is the first reading, so we're able to come back to that. And we've got a little bit of things we'd like to accomplish for that next one. So, and it's symbiotic, right? I mean, good schools draw good neighborhoods draw good schools. And all of that ends up being Chuck's problem, right? Yeah. Because then it's, it's good traffic, but it's,
One of their options there, again, if they come back and we want to set aside, they can say we don't want to dissolve the first one, and they can stay with it, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Right.
All right.
Yes, that's an option for
Thank you, Mr. Barnaby. Appreciate your
I
comments.
just need to make clear what we're considering here. Neither one of these ordinances are zoning ordinances. These are ordinances to establish the community development district.
Yeah.
The zoning ordinance, the PUD, was modified a couple of years ago to actually remove that school site and to allow 2018 to allow residential development there. So, I mean, to take that entitlement away is going to require a separate ordinance modifying that PUD. And of course, whenever you take an entitlement away, there are legal ramifications to that, Burt Harris, things like that. So, but what you have before you today is simply, as Teresa put it, the financing mechanism for the infrastructure. But the zoning has already been approved for this development.
Okay, so are there any comments with that in mind? Are there any comments at all from the public on this first reading? And the fruit of this is, we understand what our city attorney has just challenged us with. We understand that the commission is interested in understanding where the schools are going to go and what the needs will be in light of all the PUD that exists in that area, the PUDs. All right. Seeing none, we will go to number 2.
2 is proposed ordinance number 21-041, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Lakeland, Florida, establishing a community development district to be known as the Hawthorne Mill North Community Development District pursuant to Chapter 190 Florida statutes, naming the district, describing the external boundaries of the district, describing the functions and powers of the district, designating 5 persons to serve as the initial members of the district's Board of Supervisors, providing a severability clause, providing an effective date. Again, no motion is necessary, it just needs to be opened up for public hearing.
And so most of our comments that we have just had just apply to this the same way. Any comments from the public? All right, let us move on then, sir. We have nothing in Community Redevelopment Agency, and that takes us to City Manager comments. City Manager Schrouse, item 5A.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have 3 items for presentation to the City Commission this morning, and then 1 verbal at the end. The first item is regarding a recommendation for ratification of a collective bargaining agreement with the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 108. We refer to them as the IBEW. Representatives from the city, and primarily I want to, Charlie Martin is with us this morning, and Charlie Martin has been the lead negotiator for the city on this particular collective bargaining agreement, and he has been meeting with other staff and the bargaining committee that represents the Purchasing and Stores Division Warehouse Bargaining Unit, and they've been actively negotiating a successor agreement for the current active CBA, collective bargaining agreement, between the city and the IBEW, which is set to expire on September 30th, 2021. Negotiation teams for the city and the IBEW recently reached agreement on proposed terms and conditions for a successor 3-year agreement, which has been ratified by the respective employees on August 31st, with the ratification of the agreements by the bargaining unit employees. The agreement now awaits formal consideration from the City Commission. I will now provide some highlights regarding the economic terms and conditions of the proposed agreement. On the issue of wages, effective October 1st, 2021, which would be the fiscal year 2022 budget, there would be a 1.5% across the board increase for all active bargaining unit employees of that bargaining group, and a 2.5% merit increase for eligible bargaining unit employees of the IBEW. In addition, those employees under a pay step of 5 or lower, so under the 5, will receive a one-time additional 2.5% merit increase in 6 months following their next performance review if they are meeting all performance expectations. Now, just a quick note there, at presently that condition would only apply to 4 of the 7 positions that are represented by the IBEW. Then, effective October 1st, 2022 for fiscal year 23, 1.5% across the board increase for all active bargaining unit employees, and a 2.5% merit increase for the eligible bargaining unit employees. And then effective October 1st, 2023, which would then be fiscal year 24, 90 days prior to the expiration date of the September 30th contract for that fiscal year, the parties would enter into negotiations specific to Article 23 for wages to attempt to reach mutual agreement for the wage adjustments that would become effective October 1st, 2023. The economic reopener at that time would only apply to Article 23, and that's in that 3rd year of the agreement. Other terms of the agreement is that from date of ratification through September 30th, 2024 would be the term, so it's an overall 3-year agreement. Some other items to highlight is in Article 9, which is the discipline management policy. There's an update to reflect current city policy as it relates to those employees who are suspended for a duration less than 3 days being eligible for promotion or merit wage adjustments if approved by the department head, human resources, and the city manager's office. In Article 14, under hours of work and overtime, it's been modified to incorporate a previously agreed to memorandum of understanding, or MOU, in the temporary agreements article section. In addition, the meal reimbursement amount would be increased from the current rate of $12 to $13.75 when that condition applies. All the other articles that were tentatively agreed to have been incorporated into the collective bargaining agreement. It's recommended that the City Commission ratify the proposed amendments to the current CBA to reflect those wage modifications and other items that have been presented, and authorize appropriate city officials to execute the associated documents between the city and the IBEW Local 108. That completes staff's presentation, and again, Charlie Martin is with us if there are any questions from the commission.
All right, is there a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Second.
A motion to approve in a second. Discussion by commissioners. Commissioner Reed.
Again, Mark, could you come forward again? I know this is only eight people. From what I understand, when our utility trucks go out and they use whatever they need to use and they come back in, these guys are in the warehouse and they restock the truck with whatever was used or whatever they maybe used, whatever the crew chief or whatever it is requests, they restock the inventory, just like a restocking component. And then if they go out at night and they come back in at midnight and they have to come back in overtime and restock the truck at that time. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, sir. For the record, Mark Rayford, purchasing manager. And just a slight correction, sir, there are 7 members in the union.
There used to be 8, is there?
There are a total of 8 members in the warehouse staff. Superintendent of stores is the supervisor of the group and is not included in the bargaining unit. So there's 7 members.
They make about $40 an hour average. Is that what they get paid now?
I'm not exactly sure.
When we did this years ago, when I first came on the commission, it was 32. And I said, why we got a small union and why do we have to do this? So they might quit. I said, if they quit for $32 an hour job, they need to get their head reexamined. But
to further answer your question, sir, as far as the procedures go, our staff does stage material for the crews that are needed at the beginning of the day as the trucks get prepared to go out on a daily basis. As the trucks do come back, they unload either materials that they haven't used to be turned back into for jobs, or keep the materials that are needed for maintenance. We also just very recently have created, thanks to our superintendent of stores, a specific commonly used items section for the T&D crews, for them to be able to self-serve themselves of commonly used items that they might run across throughout trouble calls that may not necessarily require a specific call out. If there are just some very commonly used items that the crews are going to need to be called out, they don't necessarily need to call the crews in for items that are commonly used, thereby necessitating call out pay and additional hours for that. However, if our standby guys are called out due to necessity of power outages or other trouble calls, they're called out by system control, who calls our on-call person. Our on-call person will come in, meet with the crews, and determine what items that need to be issued, whatever assistance they need. They'll pull the materials for the crews to get loaded up and provide them for those materials.
They don't deliver anything to the actual crew itself. The crew has to come back to the main warehouse to retrieve a part they may need at 12 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning, something like that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And they would come in to give them that part.
Yes, sir.
And they get 4 hours for coming in for an hour or something like that.
They, for a call out, they get 3.5 hours, minimum of 3.5 hours per call out, paid at time and a half.
Okay.
They also, while they're on standby, they're on considered standby for a week, so they get credited for an hour at time and a half. And
Do
of
they
course,
have to stay there, or could they go back home?
once they're finished and released from system control, they go home.
Then if they call back in, to just still save that 3.5 hours?
Yes, sir, if it's related to the same call out.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions by commissioners?
Mr. Mayor, can I make one clarification?
Certainly. Davey, Mr. Martin.
For the record, I'm Charlie Martin, and as the mayor said, I acted as the chief negotiators in these. I didn't want them to think they were making $40 an hour overnight. Their actual wage rates are much south of that. I'm reading their actual rates right now, and the highest paid person is actually right a little south of $30.
Okay.
So, and most of our starting people are south of $20. So that's one of the reasons that for those 4 individuals that we spoke about, we're trying to go ahead and give them a little bit of a bump. These people are hard to get. They're critical, as Mr. Rayford said. We do try to monitor those call outs, and the crews have done with that extra area. They've done a good job of limiting some of the call outs. But if we have to have them, they're critical. One thing about it, when we use them the most, they're on a storm event, they're there 12 on, 12 off, just like everybody else. So then they're constantly working. But standbys work very well for us, and we're providing good service to our customers, more importantly.
Thank you.
But I did want to clarify the wage issue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, and that's a very, very important consideration, because the last thing you want those trucks to be doing is sitting there being loaded instead of being preloaded when they come in, as you want the guys fixing what's broken. All right. Other comments by commissioners? Any other comments by the audience? All right, this is a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Unanimously passes.
The next item is regarding a recommendation for Lakeland Leonard International Airport for the approval to negotiate with engineering firms to enter a professional engineering consulting services contract per the Consultants Competitive Negotiation Act. The airport has recently solicited professional engineering consulting services under an RFQ number 1189. According to the guidelines published in Florida Statutes Chapter 287, Section 055, which again known as the Consultants Competitive Negotiation Act. You often hear us refer to that as CC&A contracts. The responses were reviewed and ranked using consistent criteria in order to identify the most qualified firms by analyzing items such as professionals assigned to the airport, experiences of the firms, knowledge of the airport, the FAA, the FDOT, the proximity to the airport, and other factors relative to ranking the firms. The team performing the review consisted of airport staff and representatives from the city manager's office and Public Works. The selection committee held an open public meeting on Wednesday, August 25th to discuss the submittals and the scoring ranking of the firms related to the RFQ, the scores, the rankings, and the locations of each firm has been provided as part of this agenda item. The airport is requesting approval to proceed with negotiating contracts at a price that is fair, competitive, and reasonable according to the guidelines established in the Florida statutes, using a short listing of the firms in the order that has been identified. The airport intends to secure contracts for a 3-year term with one additional option year with the top 3 firms. So it's recommended that the commission authorize the appropriate city officials to negotiate and enter contracts with the 3 most qualified firms according to the guidelines established in Florida statutes to provide the engineering services needed of the airport. That completes staff's presentation. Mr. Conrad is with us if there are any questions.
A motion to approve by Commissioner McLeod and a second by Commissioner Madden. All right, discussion on the motion. Any questions for Mr. Conrad? And any questions from the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Unanimously passes.
Third item is a recommendation regarding the renewal of insurances for property and boiler machinery, excess workers' compensation, inland marine and electronic data processing, crime, surety bond for the city treasurer, excess liability coverage, cyber liability, and contractors' equipment. The city is finalizing the annual renewal process for the referenced policies for fiscal year 2022 with the assistance of our current broker of record, Gallagher Risk Management Services. The variety of quotes for noted coverages will be covered for the period that would be from October 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 2022. Those include first, property and boiler machinery. The program provides risk coverage for city property and boiler machinery for all city operations. The city's total insured values were reduced by 26% from $2,086,131,409 to $1,541,733,434 this year. Primarily, this is due to the removal of the Unit 3 assets from the property schedule. The fiscal year 2022 base premium of $3,750,000 represents a decrease of $288,369 compared to fiscal year 2021's base premium of $4,038,369. The current renewal premium is being presented as a not to exceed, while the broker with Gallagher continues to negotiate with underwriters to improve pricing and drive the lowest possible premiums. Additionally, the AIG engineering fee remains at $35,000. Second is the excess workers' compensation. The city currently self-insures its workers' compensation program with a retention limit of $350,000. The incumbent Florida Municipal Insurance Trust has again offered a competitive program. The premium for FY22 will decrease by a total of 19%. The decrease is based upon an improvement in the city's experience modification factor with a decrease in payroll of 1%. FMIT is offering the 22 renewal for an annual premium of $592,289. Next is Inland Marine Electronic Data Processing. Hartford Insurance Company remains the carrier for this coverage. The FY21 annual premium was $62,872. The annual premium for FY22 represents a decrease of $4,662. A reduction in overall exposures is the result, and is why the exposures have reduced by 7%. Next is crime. Travelers Insurance will pay the city, will pay the insured, which is the city, for the direct loss of the transferring, paying, or delivering money or securities directly caused by social engineering fraud committed by a person purporting to be either a vendor or a client. The annual renewal premium for this coverage remains the same at $13,378. Next is the surety bond for the city treasurer. The premium for the existing policy with the Hartford Insurance Company remains at an annual base fee of $685. Excess liability is next. The city is self-insured for auto, general, law enforcement, public officials, and employment practices liability. The current policy has a $5 million per occurrence limit for each type of coverage. The current carrier is Argonaut Insurance Company, and they have non-renewed their entire book of business for public entity excess liability. So as a result, the city will need to move to a new carrier starting October 1st, 2021. The most competitive option for this is through Munich, which retains the current $5 million limit for all coverages except for sexual abuse coverage, which is now separated and has a $2 million sublimit. Additionally, Munich provides a $500,000 self-insured retention for a total premium of $377,652. This is a 16.4% increase over the expiring program. The city has only incurred $145,000 in claims excess of $250,000 in the last 10 years under the policy. Next is cyber liability. Chubb Insurance Company is providing this coverage, which is inclusive of network security and privacy liability, data breach fraud, internet media liability, and network extortions. Chubb was able to offer a renewal quote this year as a result of the city's compliance with their underwriting guidelines. The coverage limit has been reduced from $3 million to $1 million, and the policy retention has been increased from $75,000 to $500,000. The fiscal year 22 premium for this renewal program is $27,054, a 34% reduction as compared to fiscal year 21. Inland Marine is Markel American Insurance Company. They were selected to provide the physical damage coverage for various equipment being leased, which ranges from street sweepers, great alls, and a vacuum truck. For this year's renewal, the premium rate increased 3% along with a 19% increase in values. So the total premium for 22 is $46,644, which represents an increase of $8,621 over last fiscal year. Arthur J. Gallagher's annual brokerage service fee is $175,000 for fiscal year 22. This service fee includes all lines of coverage currently handled by Gallagher and excludes all commissions. There is included with the agenda item a list of the 22 coverage premiums and their comparison to fiscal year 21. So it's recommended that the City Commission approve reviewing the coverages as has been presented, this would all have an October 1st, 2021 effective date. That completes staff's presentation. We do have Joyce and others with us in the room if there are any questions on this item.
First, we begin with the motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
And a second. Okay, discussion by commissioners. Commissioner Music.
Thank you. Lots of numbers, so thank you guys for doing that. I really only had one question, and it was in number 7, the cyber liability. Other than us being compliant with their underwriting guidelines, what is the reason that we went down from $3 million to $1 million in coverage limits on that?
I'll ask Joyce to come forward and provide that information.
But I love that we have a percentage decrease of 7%. That's awesome. So it's a good thing.
Morning, Joyce Dias, Risk Management and Purchasing Director. Cyber liability, as you can imagine, has been very active over the past couple of years, and because of the actions of other municipalities and school boards, the carriers have reduced the amount of insurance that they're willing to put out there and insure us for. So we've been working very closely with info security, Josh, and IT, Oscar, to make sure that we have the finances available to help us self-insure so that we have that coverage that we need.
So we're just seeing that a lot of the insurance companies that are offering that are reducing anything anyway just because of activity. So, but we feel we're covered. I mean, because that is a big deal, right? I mean, 8-year-old kids can hack into stuff, and next thing you know, you're shut down. So.
Right, and our info security department does a really good job of testing us for phishing, and some of those breaches are where that happens all the time. I think we've all gotten caught in those little tests there.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Good. I'm feeling so much better.
You're not alone.
Oh, good. And it is good. I mean, that's why they do that. Yes, Commissioner Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So if I hear you correct, Ms. Joyce, we have a double whammy. We have Chubb plus being self-insured, or we are leaning or going towards a self-insured.
We're actually working towards a self-insured. We're utilizing the resources that Chubb has so that if there is a breach, they have companies that will assist us with that breach. But then we're also working, and Mike's been working with us as well, to make sure that we have that financial support to be able to help get us out of that situation if we have one.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Other questions? Any questions by the audience or comments? Seeing none, voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Unanimously passes with the exception of Commissioner McCarley out of the room.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I just have one verbal.
Yes, please. Oh, yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Just pleased to announce to the City Commission and to the community that last week, the city received the funds transfer of $215 million from Lakeland Regional Health. As you all recall, that was the agreement for the hospital to prepay their lease through 2040, and then the changes that will occur beyond that date. And so that transfer has been received. Our finance director, Mike Brossart, has done a fantastic job managing that process. As you're all aware, there has been a board that has been established that will begin investing those funds, and they have an incremental process that they've decided upon to do so. So we've received the funds. It's hopefully the end of a very long story that's beneficial for the community and for the continuation of the hospital. So just an update on that.
Excellent. Comments at all? All right. That brings us back to City Attorney and ordinance first reading.
One ordinance for first reading. This is not a public hearing. This will be first reading only. The public hearing on this ordinance will be held on October 4th. That is proposed ordinance number 21-042, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Lakeland, Florida, relating to the City of Lakeland Firefighters Retirement System, amending the City of Lakeland Firefighters Defined Benefit Plan by amending Section 27, Supplemental Benefit Component for Special Benefits related to share accounts under Chapter 175 Florida statutes, providing for inclusion in the city code, providing for severability, providing for the repeal of ordinances and resolutions in conflict herewith, providing an effective date. Once again, that will come back for second reading and public hearing on October 4th.
That takes you to B1.
The B1 is a resolution relating to the equalization role you considered earlier in the meeting. That is proposed resolution 21-072, a resolution providing for the assessment of a lien against properties for expenses incurred in the removal of dilapidated and hazardous buildings, making findings, providing an effective date.
Move approval.
Motion approved in a second from Commissioner McLeod. Discussion by commissioners. Any discussion by the audience? Roll call vote. Commissioner Walker?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Yes.
Aye. Unanimously passes.
Next is proposed resolution number 21-073, a resolution relating to elections, delegating certain administrative duties to the city clerk, appointing the city clerk and the deputy city clerk as members of the canvassing board for a purpose, making findings, providing an effective date.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right. A motion approved in a second and discussion by commissioners. Any discussion or questions by the audience? It's a roll call vote. Commissioner McLeod?
Aye. Yes.
Aye.
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 Aye. Unanimously passes.
Next is proposed resolution number 21-074, a resolution relating to public utility easements, making findings, vacating an existing 15-foot public utility easement located at 3516 Lakeside Heritage Drive, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
Move approval.
In a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Reed. Discussion by commissioners. Any discussion or questions from the audience? Commissioner McLeod?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
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 Aye. Unanimously passes.
Last is proposed resolution number 21-075, a resolution of the City of Lakeland, Florida relating to the State Revolving Fund loan program, making findings, authorizing a loan application, authorizing a loan agreement, establishing pledged revenues, designating authorized representatives, providing assurance, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
Motion to approve.
In a second?
Second.
Second, okay, discussion by commissioners. Any discussion by the audience? Commissioner Walker?
Aye.
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 Yes.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimously, yes, unanimously passes. That takes us, C1 was already approved by consent. And so C3.
Good afternoon. Ramona Siriani for the City Attorney's Office. The first item that we have here is an agreement with IBM for software subscription and support renewal. This is for the existing IBM Maximo enterprise system that the city uses citywide by a variety of departments to help manage its assets and life cycles and maintenance related to buildings, equipment, also vehicles.
In order to maintain that vendor support, IBM is the sole Maximo provider for the city, and while this is a renewal, IBM is seeking to switch over to a new platform called the Passport Advantage Program. Upon the switch to this platform, in order to secure some competitive pricing, the city staff looked at procuring pricing pursuant to the state contract to renew its agreement with IBM. The software subscription and renewal agreement is for a term of 9 months, effective October 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. Following that initial term, it'll be subject to annual renewals for 1-year periods and can be terminated by the city upon 30 days prior written notice. The total cost for the initial term is $338,848.20. A portion of that cost has already been budgeted by IT and its software license and maintenance account for FY21. The remaining cost is included in IT's budget for FY22, subject to City Commission approval of that budget. All terms and conditions will be in accordance with the State of Florida contract and corresponding attached addendum, as well as IBM's proposal dated August 24th, 2021. We ask for your favorable approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, motion approved in the second. Discussion by commissioners. Any discussion by the audience? This is a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Unanimously passes. That brings us then to C1, 8C1.
What we have here is an amendment number 3 to the Arcos LLC Master Service Agreement. This is for the resource management system that provides for the ongoing primary call-out services that is used by a number of utilities, actually use these for call processes and scheduling. This is for specific to Lakeland Electric's automated roster call-out system for emergency crew call-outs by Lakeland Electric System Control. It's used by energy delivery operations, the water department, Lakeland Electric phone team, and McIntosh Power Plant emergency operations and gas operations. The Arcos system specifically assembles and tracks repair crews to improve restoration and emergency response for Lakeland Electric. Also centralizes the management control for improved accountability as well. This specific amendment number 3 extends that contract term for a 3-year period. The existing contract is set to expire at the end of this month on September 30th. It also provides for pricing based on the number of electric and water meters that the utility has, and it also extends the use of any licenses and provides for updated data security documents as well. The price for the base call-out system for the 3-year period is a firm price of $328,039.20. Additional costs built into the price include a one-time application service package for $36,000. As such, the total estimated cost of the 3-year agreement is $364,039.20. That is included in Lakeland Electric's FY21 budget, and we'd ask for your favorable approval.
Move for approval.
Motion approved and a second by Commissioner Music. And discussion by commissioners. Any discussion or questions by the audience? This is a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. That unanimously passes with Commissioner Walker out of the room. All right, item 3.
The next item that we have is an agreement with Advanced Overhead Systems for the gantry crane controls upgrade at Larson Power Plant. The existing crane that we have in use there is approximately 70 years old and is in dire need of an upgrade. The use of that crane is very significant to work that will be done for Unit 8's spring outage, as well as being able to move different items for use around the facility as well. It's not feasible to bring in a mobile crane. I think we discussed that a little bit on Friday's agenda study based on we would have to remove a portion of the roof to bring such a crane in. There are photos that are in the bid package that kind of give you an idea as well and a perspective of what that crane looks like. As such, the city's purchasing department issued an invitation to bid. We received 2 proposals from 2 vendors. Advanced Overhead Systems was the lowest responsible bidder with a price of $199,240. Upon your approval, the Advanced Overhead will start procuring parts, and they are anticipated to start work on the crane in January 2022 and complete that work 1 month thereafter. The total cost of the work, again, is $199,240, and that is included in Lakeland Electric's FY21 budget, and we'd ask for your favorable approval.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All right. So your motion was Commissioner McLeod, second by Commissioner Walker. Discussion by commissioners. Any discussion by the audience or questions? All right, this is a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Unanimously passes.
Yeah, the last item that we have is a natural gas sales agreement with the city of Clearwater, Florida. At our agenda study on Friday, we gave you a brief overview of this agreement, and as we mentioned on Friday, this is a very fluid transaction, so some additional things have changed. The base agreement really hasn't changed, but I think we mentioned briefly on Friday that we had just received word that instead of one transaction of the purchase of 10,000 MMBTUs per day, this agreement will now be completed in 2 purchases, the first purchase of which will be 4,200 MMBTUs, and then a second purchase of 5,800 MMBTUs, which will take place a few months later. So we're still requesting authority to purchase up to the 10,000 MMBTUs a day. This is only that 10,000 MMBTUs of natural gas from Clearwater only represents a small portion of what the utility uses per day in natural gas, which that 10,000 MMBTUs is approximately 19% of Lakeland Electric's daily use. The term of the agreement of the 4,200 MMBTUs will be effective for an initial term that will commence April 1st, 2022. The one additional change to that, I think we presented on Friday that would be a 5-year term. That is now just over 4 years instead of a 5-year term. So now we're looking at a 4-year, 6-month term, so that essentially requires us to buy that prepaid gas for a lesser period of time. That second purchase will occur, as I mentioned previously, a few months later after that. Lakeland Electric is receiving 80% of the minimum discount rate that the natural gas is being sold to the city of Clearwater for, which equates to 24 cents per MMBTU. A 1-year notice of termination is required to terminate that contract during the initial term. And again, both of these, even though these are 2 separate purchases, I stress again that they are basically being treated the same. There will be mirror agreements that the terms and conditions haven't changed, absent just a smaller portion of the 4,200 MMBTUs for that first purchase, and then the 5,800 MMBTUs for the second purchase. The estimated minimum savings to the city pursuant to the agreement for the prepaid natural gas of the 4,200 MMBTUs is approximately $1,839,600 over just under that 5-year period. The estimated minimum savings for the 5,800 MMBTUs is approximately $2,540,400. And total cost of natural gas is included in Lakeland Electric's FY22 fuel budget. And just Ms. Bombard had mentioned, I believe, that FY22 of the Lakeland Electric FY22 fuel budget is $81,112,819. So that gives you kind of a perspective of the amount of that fuel. The agreement, again, contingent on the City of Clearwater obtaining final approval by its city council of the gas services agreement with FGU, so it can then resell that gas at the discounted rate to the City of Lakeland. In the event that the City of Clearwater doesn't approve that deal, then we also have an opportunity to look at the City of Leesburg, Florida, for receiving that discount, which would be basically substantially the same agreement with same terms and conditions. Therefore, we are asking for a recommendation for approval from the commission to approve this sales agreement for a purchase of up to 10,000 MMBTUs of natural gas in 2 separate transactions with the City of Clearwater, and authorize the appropriate City of Lakeland officials to execute those documents, including for the authority of Lakeland Electric staff to enter into an agreement with the City of Leesburg if the City of Clearwater does not approve its agreement with FGU. And any final agreement that comes back will have to be reviewed by the City Attorney's Office as well.
City, move to approve.
Second.
Right, and discussion by commissioners. Commissioner Reed and then Commissioner Music.
There again, Ramona, I hate to show my ignorance. I know what a British thermal unit is, but what is a MM?
I'm sorry,
What's the MM stand for? I know what a British thermal unit is and how you figure that, but what's the MM?
MMBT. Tori can, because we refer to it as just MMBTU. I don't know myself. Million? Okay.
Million metric something or what?
Million.
All right, Commissioner Music.
Yeah, and so I think we talked about this on in our agenda study, but the reason that we're buying from them is because they have a longer term contract.
Correct. It's a 30-year term.
30 years, okay.
Right.
So does Leesburg have that same type of deal, which is why we think we're going to be able to top over there if we...
It would be the same 30-year. It would be the long-term deal, but in this deal, the City of Lakeland is only, it would be less than a 5-year term now for us.
So they're taking the long term, which I've always tried to shy away from. They're taking the long-term deal, and we're hitting it at a 5-year or whatever the year happens.
They have the long-term risk associated with the deal, but ours is very...
We're still sensitive to that.
Yes, thank you.
Do we have any 30-year contracts at all?
The only contracts that we have in fuels are, the longest is 25 years, and that was for the Gulfstream contract that I had brought to you with the pipeline capacity.
Okay. Commissioner McLeod.
Thank you. How common are these types of agreements with other cities? Have we historically done this? Other cities do, who have municipal utilities do the same thing?
This is a prepaid, okay? And prepaids come and go. The markets have to be at the right conditions. So since I've been fuel manager for the last 7 years, they just haven't been that popular. But prior to that, we've entered into them. Because what a prepaid is you have to have you have to have somebody that can do a tax exempt bond and a taxable, okay? And they go out like this Black Belt Energy, and they're going to do a bond issue. And then they're going to give it to a taxable entity. And the swap between the two is how we get the discount. But usually these deals are 30 years. And because we didn't want to sign up for a 30-year deal, we're doing a partnership with another city. Because all the risk for all of us is just that Clearwater would have to be on the obligation for 30 years to buy 4,200 M's from this vendor. And they're going to sell it to us, and we will get a 24-cent discount, and they get a 6-cent discount. The real discount is 30 cents. That's why you see the 80%. So.
Commissioner Reed.
Thank you. You may maybe answer Chad's question, and of course, I think back in 2000, 2002, we signed a long agreement and lost our rear end in hedging. This is basically we're just hedging on somebody else's contract, aren't we?
Yeah, this is what they call a fiscal hedge, okay? Because I'm buying gas. What you're referring to is a financial hedge, okay? With financial hedges, that's what we've been hedging, where you go out into the market and you have, you know, futures, calls type options. In this case, I'm already buying this gas, if this helps you out right now, at this point, for 42, at the 4,200 volume. The problem is I've been piggybacking and usually you wouldn't see me. Anything over 3 years, I have to come to you, okay? So I've only been able to get you a 4-cent discount. So I'm doing the same identical thing, except I'm asking you to let me sign up for 4 years and 6 months to get you a 24-cent discount. Because I'm going to need 4,200 because it takes about 55,000 MMBTUs a day to operate Unit 5. And even if we were running one of our little units like Unit 8 or Unit 2, I need 10,000. So it's a very little amount. And if I didn't need this gas, OUC or FMPA is going to use it because remember, we're part of a power pool. So all I'm trying to do, there's very little risk to this.
What got us in trouble in 2004?
That would have probably been the financial hedges because what they would have, you know, this is prior to me being here, but I believe what happened was that was when we had the hurricanes, okay? Price of gas was $12, somewhere around there in MMBTU, okay? And we hedged at $12, okay? Then the price of gas went back down to $3. So we had hedges at 12, and so it increased our cost. That's what happened. This is not this. All this is whatever the price of gas is with an index, I get 24 cents off it. So right now, for example, today's gas was $5.40. I would get 24 cents off. It doesn't matter what the price of gas is. I just get 24 cents off it. That's all it is.
And it's really simple. It just seems complicated.
Oh, it's a very complicated contract. Verona.
The man
Palmer,
agreement
Saints
may
on
have
this.
been easier to negotiate, actually.
Wow.
But I mean, it's just, I'm getting 24 cents off, you know. The risk is I have to buy 4,200 a day. But if I don't need the gas, I can sell it to OUC and FMPA. And I'm sure you that they would need 4,200. And they'd be more than happy to take 24 cents versus a penny and a penny half in the market from me.
Okay, any other questions or comments from commission? Any from the audience at all? All right, this is a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Unanimously passes. Thank you for your complicated work and the purchasing of it. And that brings us to the audience portion of our meeting, and we'll start with Commissioner Walker.
Authors and audience, I'm sorry. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. About 3 things I think I need to make sure that I share with you all. You all, I'm sure, have read in the local media coverage on one of our community activists, Attorney Larry Hardaway, who passed away, of course, and there was a private service for he and his family on this past Saturday. Of course, there's a public memorial that's going to be held Friday, October 1st, 3 o'clock in the afternoon at Victory Church. And that's when, I guess, all the different tributes and those kind of things that will come from all over, I'm sure, the county and outside of the county will be done as well. And then, of course, in lieu of flowers, as has been shared, if you had read about it, they're asking that you donate toward the Larry Hardaway Memorial Fund through GiveWell Foundation. So just want to make sure, you know, the public knows about it, and we, of course, as a commission, are aware of it as well. This coming Saturday is our, I'll call final kind of neighborhood cleanup that we do about 3 a year here in our city, and through the Gang Task Force and partnering with, of course, the Dream Center under Pastor Mike Cooper, as well as the neighborhood where we're going. And this coming Saturday, it will be at the North Lake Wire neighborhood with All Saints Episcopal Church. Been they're a stalwart partner in that particular community. And you've seen some revitalization done through that core area, and I see continued good things happening in that particular community as well. Thankfully, of course, to All Saints Episcopal, Deacon Bob Johnson, and the team there at All Saints, along with the North Lake One Neighborhood Group as well. So it's this coming Saturday, the 25th, 8:30. I think it's the time a meeting up to noon hour. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, over the years, this will be the first, if not the second, that I will have missed. That's because of Florida League of Cities board meeting I'll be involved in, and so I'll be out of town for that on this coming Saturday when this particular event is happening. Lastly, the month of September is usually we give a proclamation for sickle cell awareness, and the organization that's usually come before us and asked for that proclamation, and when it's done, the lady who's been chairing that particular organization got married, so she relocated, of course, to be with her husband, where out of state. And I just learned here in a couple of days that they still would like to have a proclamation done. So we're, I of course asked them to make sure they make contact with our Ms. Edmond, of course, at City Hall here, to make sure it happens for the recognition of this month as a Sickle Cell Awareness Month. I tell you, if you have never known any particular child who embraced that particular disease, of course you all know my son, my youngest, has that disease, but I tell you, the Lord has proven himself as being the healer in his respect, and even though he still is identified being with a disease as such, but to just see how he gets along, how he weathers the storm, and as you all probably know, he's in nursing school, and hopefully this time next year he will be a RN and on his way to support that profession that he really wants to be a part of, to support in the health arena. So I did just make sure you all know that this particular month we usually do the proclamation, but due to the lady who's kind of the spearheading person for that organization locally, and I don't know who the new person is yet. I did get contact, like I said, in the last couple of days about a proclamation to be done, and hopefully that will be done, and we'll find out who the new lead person is for the Sickle Cell Awareness organization here in our Lakeland Polk County community. Thank you all for allowing the update to be done for the Lakeland History and Culture Center on this past Friday. Thank you all for the support you have given. I appreciate that. As my colleagues, as I heard, Sister Commissioner Madden mentioned, it's a lot of stories to be told, a lot of things to be shared, and if you want to know, I think this is a good way to having to know and get to the point of knowing how Lakeland has become what it is today. And it took various ones of us, various ethnicities and groups of us to make it happen. And unless you want to know, you never know. You just think it just happened. Well, it didn't just happen. There are other many different ones that gave their time and the energy and support to make Lakeland what it is today. And I think when you see the unveiling of at the gala in March, and I think the date is March 11th, slated for March 11th, a gala affair to just see the first, I call, rendering. And of course what may come after that, and all the stories that you continue to learn and hear about those of us that live here in I'll call our sandbox to make Lakeland what it is today, it becomes more reality, how we are becoming more inviting as a community and helping to make sure people understand what Lakeland is and has become. So thank you so very much to my colleagues for allowing that time to happen this past Friday. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Always comprehensive. Appreciate it. Commissioner Music.
Not much. I just want to say thank you to the rest of you that they're filed your paperwork and are getting ready to run again. It'll be my third run in 8 months. So I am excited, but no, it was neat to see the from Kelly come out, and so anyway, just hope we have a good time ahead of us, and that everybody works hard and gets out there in the community and continues what we're doing here. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner McCarthy.
So Commissioner Music is proficient at running.
Yes, he is.
And congratulations to Commissioner Madden for her reelect. We're very excited for her. I do have just a question. I didn't know if you had a broadband update. We haven't heard about that in a while.
I have not heard an update. City manager, do you have any updates
Only that a lot of the technical team from Summit and our technical team in IT have had, meetings just in helping with, how they're looking to deploy. But beyond that, it's just we're more in a support role right now.
Yeah, we had set aside monies for augments where necessary, but they had to determine where they're gonna start deploying first, so we could, and I haven't heard where they're gonna start. But I'm sure people are curious.
Thank you, Commissioner Madden.
I don't have anything today.
Commissioner Reed.
Tiger, you gotta have something.
No, he used up all his questions.
Used all his time.
I have nothing.
You did, you were really.
All right, with that, we are adjourned. Thank you. No, he didn't. I'm sorry. He was waiting now.